Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, Rello. Or hello again. Hello, Damn Fam, and welcome to season 5 and episode number 886 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Oh, Canada. Always 100% Canadian. I seem to be a little fuzzy, so let's see if I can fix that. Today, recording day, is Thursday, April 16th, 2026, and it is a gray and gloomy day at the Beaver Lodge, although not as gloomy as it was when we tried this the first time today. Because this is a take two, kids and cubs, for those of you who are joining us. About 30 minutes into the show, the power went out, just like that. So apparently, I was frozen and looking very prayer-like. Something like that. Man. So yeah, welcome to the Daily Beaver Morning Show, take two. Not as gracious as the graceful a start as we normally do, but hey, we keep going. Well, like I said, I'm your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver, and not with me as usual is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly, although he did drop in the first episode to say hello, so I bring you his greetings. Big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. Kids and Cubs, how's your mental health today? Still doing well. Although clearly a little frazzled, thrown by I had gotten into a groove there, so I got a little thrown. Had a little extra programming to do to put the schedule back up for everyone, to make sure that they can find the link and find us. And I got some good news this morning, which unfortunately you don't get to see my more immediate reaction, which was probably much more animated than the one that you are going to see now, because I'm basically announcing it for the second time. But I still got some very good news this morning, and that is that, as you know, if you've been following the show, you know that yours truly is an avid curler. And well, turns out that next season there's going to be a Grand Slam of Curling event right here at the Beaver Lodge. Well, I mean, not right here at the Beaver Lodge where I live, but in the city where the Beaver Lodge is. And I am very excited about this. And it turns out that in addition to the event taking place next year, there is a kick-off reception scheduled for this Tuesday morning at a local curling club here at the Beaver Lodge. And it says here, the Grand Slam of Curling is coming to Kingston this December. Join us to learn more about the Grand Slam of Curling and discover how you can get involved through volunteer and sponsorship opportunities. This event includes an appearance by Olympic medalist Rachel Homan. Woohoo! And not only Olympic medalist, but multiple world champion, signing her new children's book, Curling ABCs. Olympic gold medalist Jennifer Jones, yay! And also has a book out right now called Rockstar that you might want to pick up. And on-air personality Devin Haru. Okay, maybe I am just as excited the second time around. So yes, a friend of the pod, Devin Haru, which means I am, because you know I'm going, I am going to have an opportunity finally to meet him in person, which will be really nice because he's such a lovely, lovely, lovely person, and he's been so generous to our show with his appearances. It's going to be nice to be able to shake his hand. Hey, maybe even give him a hug. You know, maybe he's a hugger. Who knows? And have a little bit of conversation, and then I'll be able to um, hopefully say hello to Rachel Homan and. Uh, she won't remember clearly, but I will remember forever that I had one curling match against her when she was still in the juniors, which we lost, of course. But we did still win in the first end. So yes, that's one of my tiny little personal trophies on my own personal little sports shelf. Stole one end from Rachel Holman. And of course, um, no offense to Mayor Brian Patterson, who's also on that list and will be there. I'm just fanboying on the curling people. So, but yes, the mayor of Kingston will also be there. So yeah, and I did it the second time. Last time when I was talking about this, I was so excited that I did take the image down the entire time I was talking, and I did it again. So I lied. I guess I could get as close to as animated the second time as I was the first time about it. The news is just that good. There you go. I'm a happy beaver. I hope you are just as happy. Yeah, Toronto, Jennifer and Rachel, can I come? Sure, dude. Come on over. Absolutely. You'd be welcome. Um, but yeah, wow, I am, that is some really wonderful news. Kit Michael, who some of you have been on the chat for a while, I might know he hasn't been around recently because his job has not allowed him to join us in the mornings. But yeah, he's the one that sent me that and this morning and said, "Did you see this?" And I knew that the Grand Slam event was coming to Kingston, but I did not know about this kickoff event next Tuesday. So I'm as soon as this show is over, I'm going to my calendar and I'm circling that date in red marker. I'm not missing that. Wow, I am very, very excited. Okay, let's see. And just as I mentioned earlier on the show, when I did it the last time, also experiencing a little bit of pain. That thing that I told you last week, where I'm sometimes I'm knotted up and certain muscle passages get a little blocked or locked. It's happening today. Not as painful as it was the other day, which means I'm on the downslope of it, which is or this current bout of it anyway, which is a good and a relief. But yeah, again, if I'm a bit fidgety today, that's why. And please, you will forgive me because sometimes it's hard to stay in a certain position for a while without starting to feel very, very uncomfortable or even some pain. But other than that, was this is not a new thing. We just deal with that and we move on because again, I'm hardwired for optimism and happiness, and today is a day for it. Given that wonderful news. All right, and given as well that we are getting some rain, which will, of course, bring some beautiful flowers and hopefully a nice, productive garden this year. So there you go. Choosing to look at the bright side of things. Uh, let's see. Did you all see the clip of Prime Minister Mark Carney throwing down his gloves to President Stubb? That was a great example of humor for the fun of it. I did not see that clip, Kit Tabby G. Hopefully, I can stumble upon it during the show and present it. Tell Michael that we all miss him. I absolutely will, Elaine. Absolutely will. Okay. Let's get into a few things. I'm seeing here. You know what? Okay. Uh, I started off last time this way because I took a cue from the audience. So I will start this way. That way I will keep the same thread. Uh, Something happened that conservatives upset, but Mark Carney made the Time 100, the list of influential people. This time, this happened for a Canadian Prime Minister, I believe, would be 2018 when Justin Trudeau made the list, and he made the list again in 2016. The 2016, I know for sure because I went to verify it myself. The 2018, I didn't go take a look for myself, see if he was there, but have it on good authority from a source that is typically credible and which. So I took their word for it on that. But yes, Mark Carney made the list of most influential people, and they always ask for someone who is also influential to write a little bit about that person. It's usually just a short text paragraph or two. When Justin Trudeau made the Time 100 in 2016, I believe it was Lorne Michael of Saturday Night Live, who created Saturday Night Live, who wrote the blurb. And I did just check in 2018, he did make it, and at that point, it was New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern who wrote up the blurb. So yeah, we have the last two Liberal prime ministers have made the Time 100 list. So that's kind of interesting to note. And we look at that which uh, has been written about him by Christine Lagarde. Now, Christine Lagarde, for those who are wondering or might not remember, or if the name sounds familiar to you, but you don't know exactly why, she is the leader at the European Central Bank, the president of the European Central Bank. And she writes here, nicknamed the George Clooney of finance. Well, there. How's that for a for a lead in there? But yeah, she goes on to, she says here, nicknamed the George Clooney of finance. This rock star central bank governor is now turning heads as a prime minister. Mark Carney first came to global fame during the 2008 financial crisis when, together with a small group of ambitious and highly skilled colleagues, he designed the regulatory framework that would define and strengthen banking and finance for decades. After leading the central bank of his native Canada, Mark became the first non-British governor of the Bank of England and had the courage to highlight the consequences of Brexit for the United Kingdom. With his famous tragedy of the Horizon speech in 2015, he was also the first central banker to identify the financial stability risks of climate change. After becoming the Prime Minister of Canada last year, he was the first to conceptualize the breaking point of multilateralism as we have known it for decades. I trust he will now reinvent cooperation among the willing for the common good of all. So that is the segment here. And of course, as you know, with regard to that final statement by Lagarde in that text, the Prime Minister did have that Davos speech, which was sort of a rallying event. And he is also working on creating a network for people, for nations that would like to deal in critical minerals and to be able to refine them and trade them and whatnot without necessarily having to go through China, or at least create an alternative network so that China is not the only one out there. And he's working on several other initiatives. There seems to be some attempt to link the CETA bloc, the European Trade Group, and that agreement, along with the Trans-Pacific Partnership Group. So that, or CPTPP, um, group together to create one big block. He also seems to be doing a lot of leadership into the with the group of Nordic nations with regard to Arctic sovereignty. He seems to be have his fingers in many pies in terms of and even in terms of trade. When he's talking about oh my God, the variable geometry, which was his term used recently, I believe it is when he was in Australia, talking about groups of like-minded countries who may not agree on everything, but agree on enough things enough of the time that either the whole group or an important subset of the group can go off and do their own thing. So, in other words, adopting the coalition of the willing model, but using it much more broadly, and trying to get the world to realize that yes, we have some hegemons out there, but if the rest of us who are still important nations, just not don't have the military might and the market capital or cultural influence to sway the world with an action or two here or there. It might be in our best interests uh, for us to at least agree on some rules that we are going to abide by and trade more among us. If the hegemons are just going to, swing their members around the room whenever they like. Uh, sorry for the visual. So yeah, he's definitely has been taking on that role, and this time 100 again, Mark Carney being highlighted by who's a noted global economist, being highlighted by another global economist, comes at a time, and I'm sure I'm not sure that Pierre PoiliOVER and the Conservatives knew that the Time 100 list was coming out on that specific day, coming up a few days later when they made this claim. But as we, showed you on the show a few days ago, Mark Pierre PoiliOVER's first seeming attack following by-election day was to run to the cameras and to assert that well, I guess the interview could have been done after or before by-election day. I don't know when he recorded it, but it came out around there, and basically suggesting that Mark Carney, who is Harvard and Oxford educated and has a PhD in economics from Oxford, happens to be badly educated on economics because apparently, despite his education, according to Pierre PoiliOVER, who, if we are talking about education, did start at the University of Calgary and then stopped for about 10 years and finished with an online degree from the University of Athabasca. Again, not that we are looking down on that, but we need to compare and consider the source. Oxford, one of the most prestigious institutions in the world. Harvard, one of the most prestigious institutions in the world. A lot of people trying to turn around and make a point that Mark Carney might be, or probably is, the first prime minister who, if he went to university, did never attended a university in Canada. Like this is supposed to be a terrible thing. So, yes, I mean it's always nice like this to have a prime minister that yes, it attended a university in Canada if the prime minister attended a university, but when the international universities you happen to have been admitted to and graduated from happen to be Harvard and Oxford, maybe that's not the best time to point out that the prime minister or that certain person might have either a lack of patriotism or might not be a real Canadian because they had an opportunity to go to Harvard and Oxford and took it, as we pretty much all would if we had the ability to get in, as well as the funds. But come on. So, on its face, a very, very, very terrible argument, way to and terrible way to go. It has connected with nobody in any sphere of influence, and none of the pundits, the media hasn't picked up on it and ran with it. So, yeah, it's true. I mean, you do not have to like Mark Carney to recognize. that clearly he is educated and respected, and that a lot of people look up to him, and that he's done well for himself. I mean, Mark Carney is the ultimate Canadian boy made good story, but for some reason the Conservatives don't like that because, well, he's not running under their banner, I guess. But it's like, uh, no one can criticize the quality of this man's education, right? But they chose to do that. They chose to go for a strategy that on its face looks stupid. And of course, this is part of the conservative core push, which has been existed for a long time. And we've seen it in the States, right? I love the poorly educated, or even Donald Trump before. He threw his hat in the ring, stating that if ever he ran for president, he would run as a Republican because, well, essentially they were stupid enough to buy anything, or some words to that effect. That was his hypothesis at the time. And now we're in the second term of Trump. So some might say that he's proven his hypothesis. Um, but yeah, this whole concept, and this is in everything, right? When it came to COVID, vaccines, pandemic management, the economy, the Constitution, whatnot. You at home, to whom the populists are talking, particularly authoritarian, libertarian, sometimes conservative populists. is, uh, Your life experience, your personal life experience, is the universal metric by which everything should be judged, right? Um, if you haven't been polled, those polling numbers can't be real because they never polled you, right? Uh, if well, I've never experienced racism, so we can't be a racist country, right? Um, I don't know why they say the economy is doing so well. I make the ends meet, right? They must be wrong. They must be telling you whatever. This push from the conservatives is part of that whole dynamic, trying to get Canadians to believe now, right? Because the whole conservative thing is Mark Carney's a big failure. He presented himself as this big genius who would save us, and he would do it like by July 21st, and he hasn't done it, and things have only gotten worse, right? And everything's gotten worse because of him, right? That's the attitude. That's that's the dynamic. That's the narrative. So when you get data from the IMF that comes in and says that we're going to have the second fastest growing economy in the G7 over the next 2 years, and that we've had the second fastest growing economy in the G7 over the last 10 years, despite what the conservatives say, because, the IMF, well, they're experts too, and you need to disregard them too. What do they know? Right? If we were the second fastest growing economy in the G7, you didn't feel it, so it can't be real. Rather than you didn't feel it, so maybe things are not being distributed fairly, right? Because if you went down that path, which is sort of the NDP, then you'd ask whose fault is that? And then when you look at whose fault is that, it tends to be a lot of people who tend to fund and support the Conservative Party, at least from the corporate and think tank and punditry and all that kind of world. Just so happens, coincidentally. So you have Pierre, who for several years now has been trying to present himself as some policy wonk who spends hours and hours and hours in his office thinking about things about how to make life better for you. And he really understands economics. Really does. Which is precisely why Harper, who was Stephen Harper, Prime Minister Stephen Harper, was presented to us as a trained economist. because they always had to throw that word trained. We have a trained economist. Never put him into cabinet until very, very, very late, and never, I guess you could say, Employment Development Canada was a slightly economic portfolio in that, if you were receiving, OASGIS, federal student loan, that type of stuff. Um, but it wasn't finance, it wasn't international trade, it wasn't Treasury Board, it wasn't industry, it wasn't innovation. Stephen Harper never trusted him. Didn't trust him very much with cabinet and didn't trust him with an economic portfolio. The economist he worked for, the economist that hired the economist that is currently the prime minister to be the governor of Bank of Canada and who helped get us through the 2008 crisis. The prime minister who hired the first person and no, the prime minister under whom Pierre was working, the first person, and the second person, the one that the prime minister hired to be the governor of Bank of Canada, who was an economist himself, didn't trust Pierre with an economic portfolio, but trusted the guy that Pierre is currently saying today was poorly educated in economics to get us through the 2008 crisis. Well, okay, maybe didn't hire him to get us out through the 2008 crisis. Might have been there before it hit, but hired him to run our central bank. And just so happens there was a 2008 economic crisis that he handled brilliantly, so brilliantly, in fact, that, well, the central bank of another nation, England, hired its first ever non-national to run its bank. And then there was another crisis there, Brexit, and, well, as that Time 100 piece stated, Prime Minister said, "This is what's coming." Some chose not to listen. And what the then governor of the Bank of England, now Prime Minister of Canada, said would happen did happen. So, right? Um, Pierre Poilievre wants you to believe that that guy is poorly educated on economics and that every decision he makes is bad. Again, I'm just saying consider the source. Pierre, on the subject of the quality of Mark Carney's um, education and skills on all matters economic, I would venture to say that Pierre Poilievre is not a source, not a credible one. He's not the first person I would run to for information about that. Let's just say. So with all that happening yesterday in the House of Commons, there was a little moment. Now, you would think that Pierre Poilievre, uh, after everything he's been through uh, over the past year, or a little bit more than a year, blowing a lead, losing his seat, um, having to push someone out of theirs, running a by-election, then fight for the leadership of his own party, have to rig that as well, making it a delegated thing where the EDAs with which he was having a problem, by the way, if you remember, because according to David Aiken, it seems he wanted to parachute in about 100 candidates. The ADAs did not have the freedom in the past election to choose their own candidates because Pierre wanted 100 clones, 100 mini-me's, handpicked to run in those ridings instead. Since then, it appears that he's agreed at the convention that his ability to do that, or any leader's ability to do that, would be limited to just 8 seats rather than 100. This guy, you would think And then, you know, not only losing 4 MPs, in the space of 5 months, but then having a by-election come along, uh, where he knew going into it his party would do so poorly that he did not even bother to campaign for his candidates. I don't think he even said a word of congratulations to the 3 victors. And yeah, just stood up in the House and started patting himself on the back, despite the fact that the Conservative vote completely cratered during these by-elections. He stood up in the House. You would think after all of that, you would show up to the House of the people with a little bit of humility. Well, instead, we got this. Get some cubs. And once again, the Prime Minister, Mark Carney, who everybody was wondering, well, he's great in the boardroom and he's a great technocrat, but, how will he handle the cut and thrust of politics? Shows that he can handle himself rather well. All right. So yeah, PoiliOVER still his smarmy song and dance. Did that clip show, Kids and Cubs? Oh my God, the clip didn't show again. Okay. This is very frustrating. All right, let's try that one more time, Kids and Cubs. I am so sorry. I thought it was up there. All right.
It's clear that he's learned all the wrong lessons. Not only did he cause the housing crisis in London, not only did he cause the worst inflation in the G7 when he was the bank governor over there, he advised Justin Trudeau to print money here, causing inflation. And since arriving in Canada, he's given us the worst food price inflation in the G7, the worst investment in the G7, the worst housing costs in the G7, the worst household debt in the G7. So why doesn't he learn his lesson from all the failed economic experiments that only benefit insiders with tax havens like him and get rid of all the taxes on gas for all of the year?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Mr. Speaker, I feel like I'm in the presence of students. And on an exam, I don't think you would pass the exam with those answers. Mr. Speaker, as the IMF confirmed yesterday, Canada will have the second fastest growth in the G7 this year. As the IMF confirmed yesterday, we have the best fiscal position in the G7. Point final. As we have confirmed, we have the highest foreign direct investment per capita in the world.
Hear, hear.
Kids and Cubs. There we go. Finally. So yes, Prime Minister getting up in the House and turning around and saying because he's a PhD in economics, which means he could be teaching this stuff, right? Mm, feels like I'm in front of a bunch of students who wouldn't pass the exam with answers like that. You want to talk education? Let's talk education, bud. Prime Minister handed it right back. Again, calm, cool, collected. But Pierre, again, the smarmy bit. I'm smarter. Makes the comments, puts his buttons up his jacket, big smile, and sits down like he accomplished something. Like that was an effective use of our taxpayer dollars. That little song and dance number he did. And then while the prime minister's answering, of course, you heard all the background noise, right? You would think that a party that just came out of 3 by-elections, not hitting 20%, and any of them, some of them in writings, where they got well over 30% last time, you would think that they might be in reflection mode, introspection mode. But nope, not at all. See, right there, Kit Saucy. Carney is not lying. The MPs behind PoiliOVER were basically waiting for his rant to be done to clap. They were barely listening. True. So yeah, we're getting more of the same. And Pierre, of course, presenting himself once again as the guy who is going nowhere. And we have, again, the course of conservative MPs that are posting stuff to their social medias going, I'm a real conservative and I would never, ever, ever cross the floor. I'm standing behind my dear leader. Rah, 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 rah. And it's like, again, I have to state, because I have to, that this type of rhetoric is the same thing as the people that turn around going, well, I voted and I didn't get the party that I wanted to vote, so I'm going to move to another country. If you're going to cross the floor to another country as a citizen, or if you're going to cross the floor in Parliament to another party, somebody from that other country or that other party has to want to take you in first. I'm just saying that there's probably a lot of these conservative MPs that probably, they drank the Kool-Aid and they're full in. This is what they believe and this is what they want for the country. Okay, that's fine. But you probably got a lot of others that are making these statements and saying these things. It's like, darling, that's not a statement because no other party would take you. I wouldn't be flexing on that too much. It's not the flex you think it is here. So you have all these statements of loyalty. You've got a couple of people also stating, some are saying that they were approached. Some are saying and that they've rebuffed. Again, all these people that are saying that they have been approached and rebuffed never present anything, some metadata about a phone call that they had with someone or an email exchange or text message exchange or anything of the sort to prove that they have been approached. But they assure us that they have been approached, and they are true blue conservative, and they are definitely not going to betray their party or their voters. They're not. They don't do that. Okay. Fine. And then you get the people who just say that they're staying without making claims that they have been approached. Um, how would you put it? You have a lot of people being asked, if they think it's time for a change. And there seems to be no acknowledgement, at least the facade is, that there should be that. He's got all the crew out there stating that and saying that and making it very clear, that this is not happen. There's no talk about this. Everybody is four square behind the leader. But we know that's not the case because we have these political reporters telling us that there is grumblings, there's much dissatisfaction in the ranks. There's 40 MPs or so within the Conservative ranks that are not happy. They feel that they would not be able to win with Pierre at the helm. You have 4 who have left already. Deuces, I'm out of here. Right? And we still have that talk that there are about 8 to 9 more that are willing, or that are in the talks or discussions or considering, or various states of potentially leaving. So yeah, we had plenty of scenes like this here. Conservative machine working very well here. Let's bring this up. There we go.
Our caucus is united behind Pierre PoiliOVER. We are focused on the needs of Canadians. We're focused on the high cost of living. It's Conservatives that are fighting for things like eliminating the gas tax so that motorists can get a break. We're the ones talking about liberal inflation. We're the ones talking about the high cost of housing. Pierre has grown our movement to historic highs, so we're going to stay focused, do what we promised voters we would do in the last election, and that is put forward ideas to lower the cost of living so that Canadians can get ahead.
I feel like the leader has the confidence of caucus, and so I don't have any view or any fear around that. I feel confident in his leadership, and I feel confident as we continue to move forward as a party.
Certainly, caucus is united and united behind a leader that has a vision. What I think you've seen from our leader is a very effective way of prosecuting the government in the House. And now what you're seeing is something that was already there, but a wider swath and a wider breadth of him speaking to Canadians about our plans on affordability, our plans on making sure that we're resilient, we stand on our own 2 feet, and we have the leverage abroad.
Our caucus is united.
So, yeah, our caucus is united. 4 have left. 1 just a couple of days ago. There's rumors that 8 more want to go, potentially 9, and that 40 are worried that they can't win under the guy. But your caucus is united. Melissa Lansman. Oh, that stuff that was always there, but that Pierre PoiliOVER is doing now that he didn't do any time in the past 22 years. But it was always there. We are supposed to believe. And then we have this guy who is I don't know if he has a position within the party. I'm going to guess so, because if they have put him out to speak on behalf of the party, especially considering how much control they are exerting on their party and how much monitoring and the members, that maybe this guy, given that he has been given the okay to speak might have some clout within the party. He was elected to the House of Commons in 2023 by-election following the resignation of Bob Benzin. Upon his election, he became the third Conservative MP serving at that time of South Asian descent. Chouvaloi is a former member of the Standing Committee on Public Health, which he served on from fall of 2023 to 2024. He currently serves as a member of the Subcommittee on International Human Rights. I cannot see here if he has been given a critic position, but I would assume that that's the case. So Chouvaloi Majumdar often goes just by Shuv. Definitely, how would you put it? Was around in the time of the Harper era as well, if I am not mistaken. This is according to Press Progress back in 2023, when they're asking about him. It says, if Pierre Poilievre's Conservatives manage to form government after the next election, again, this is 2023, who would Pierre Poilievre likely choose as his foreign minister? It's hard to imagine Poilievre choosing anyone other than Chouvaloi, Shuv Majumdar, Poilievre's old college friend and Stephen Harper's right-hand man. After traveling the world working for an American neoconservative NGO in his close relationship with the chair of the International Democratic Union, a global organization of right-wing political parties, Majumdar has experience inside the world of international right-wing think tanks, consultancies, and NGOs. If we're also wondering about who might be, because every now they say that the leader is going to be our leader, he's staying for sure, and there's nobody in the background mobilizing or whatnot, somebody who could potentially want to step up. Should Pierre decide, or should it be decided for him that it's time for him to go, could be this Majumdar guy. He seems to be very well connected. In a recent campaign video, Poilievre described Majumdar as, quote, a longtime friend, noting the two first met at the University of Calgary, where both MPs were active with the university's controversial Reform Party campus club. Majumdar has also worked in high-level positions inside Harper's government as a top foreign policy advisor, serving as Director of Policy to Foreign Affairs Minister John Bear between 2011 and 2015. So even though he's only run on by-election in 2023, he's been around the party for a good long while. After Harper's government was defeated in 2015, Majumdar joined the former prime minister in the private sector, becoming the global director of Harper and Associates, Harper's private consulting firm. Alongside his work with Harper, Majumdar also held a high-level role with the Macdonald-Laurier Institute, a right-wing business-friendly think tank partnered with the Atlas Network, a global network of right-wing think tanks funded by conservative mega-donors, including billionaires Charles and David Koch. Majumdar ran the right-wing think tank Center for Advancing Canada's Interest Abroad and was a key architect of the think tank's Indo-Pacific strategy, which advocates closer ties between Canada and Narendra Modi's nationalist government in India. In fact, that Narendra Modi has expanded his BJP presence in the Lok Sabha is really quite remarkable. He's easily becoming the most consequential leader of India since independence, Majumdar said in one media appearance, adding that Modi's India offers a profoundly important message for the world and has so much symmetry in terms of values with Canada. Of course, that was around the time where, well, maybe this was prior to the time where Justin Trudeau revealed in the House of Commons that we might be having some issues with foreign interference. Goes on to say here that in 2020, Majumdar helped produce a controversial report by former CBC reporter Telly Maleski, alleging Pakistan secretly created a Sikh separatist movement. The report was amplified by official Indian government accounts and triggered a backlash in the Sikh diaspora community. Okay. There's more about him in this article, indicating some of his positions and things that he's done and things, ways that he tried to grab attention or whatnot. There's one interesting one considering what's going on in Alberta right now. It says here, Majumdar's interest in democracy goes back as far as his college years with Pierre Poilievre when he served as the chief return officer for the University of Calgary student elections. In 2003, Majumdar publicly accused fellow student Mickey Amery, who I now believe is the Minister of Justice in Alberta, of election fraud. Way back in 2003. There are already allegations of Mickey Amory not being the most ethical of people. Wonder what other experience he's accumulated in that domain over the next 23 years. Just saying. In 2003, Majumdar publicly accused fellow student Mickey Amory of election fraud, claiming Amory, quote, hijacked democracy by stealing voting ideas and casting fake votes, deriding Amory for having, quote, poor moral character and making the wrong moral choices. Amory was named Alberta's Minister of Justice by Premier Danielle Smith in June of 2023. It seems that they might have mended fences, though, because Amory was spotted out on the campaign trail displaying support for the same man who previously accused him of hijacking democracy and having poor moral character. In fact, the Press Progress article has a lovely photo of them together on the campaign trail. Let's put it up. Right there. Mr. Amory on the left, Mr. Majumdar on the right. My. Poor moral character. Maybe he doesn't think that anymore now that he's campaigned for him. Who knows? Majumdar was later fired as the University of Calgary CRO after problems with ballots that he produced, resulting in the 2004 student election to be overturned. Only the best people, right? According to a May 2000 report by The Gauntlet, Majumdar was out of country and could not be reached for comment. In 2019, Majumdar found himself out of the center of another scandal, this time related to Jason Kenney's 2017 UCP leadership campaign. See, these guys can't run a clean race. Leaked email surfaced in 2019 showed Majumdar had some unclear role in the so-called kamikaze campaign of Jeff Callaway, who ran for the UCP leadership for the main purpose of attacking Kenney's main rival, Brian Jean. The email showed top members of Callaway's campaign team were directed by top Kenney staffer Matt Wolf to make sure Majumdar was, quote, looped in on campaign plans so he could offer additional feedback. Other emails showed Majumdar helped queue up media appearances for Callaway's surrogates to attack Kenney's rival. There might be might be some political dark arts experience here. Majumdar's name also came up in connection to the RCMP investigation looking into bombshell allegations that Kenney's UCP leadership team committed identity fraud as part of a scheme to cast fake votes using fraudulent email addresses. In 2019, one Kenney leadership campaign worker told Press Progress that RCMP investigators mentioned Majumdar's name when they were questioned about UCP memberships. The campaign worker identified Majumdar as one of, quote, the big bosses to whom they submitted membership forms and processed data. Despite questions about whether the 2017 UCP leadership race, which may never be resolved, Majumdar won the Calgary Heritage by-election with 65% of the vote last month. Majumdar, who lists Ottawa and Washington as his current homes, that was in 2023, could have a long future in Calgary Heritage. The riding previously held by Stephen Harper is widely considered one of the safest federal Conservative seats in Canada. Yes, Majumdar is actually representing the federal seat that Stephen Harper used to represent, and he once did. Well, he's worked for Stephen Harper for quite a bit. So this Mr. Majumdar was invited, or was a guest, on some political shows lately. He presents differently than Pierre does. He does seem to be as animated and prone to rhetorical bouts of flourish. Doesn't seem to be as coarse. So if somebody was looking for somebody who could speak in full sentences and sound reasonable, or try to make things sound reasonable, rather than a flashy or showboaty, he might be your candidate for that. But I want you to, I'm not going to play the whole interview, but I'll play like maybe the first few questions. And then I just want you to listen here to the pains one makes, that he makes to not engage with the line of questioning that is being proposed, because clearly the order has come up from on high to not acknowledge in any way, shape, or form that the problem could be Pierre.
Conservative MPs. So far, 4 MPs have defected to the governing party. Conservative leader Pierre PoiliOVER says those MPs should have to run again in a by-election.
Mark Carney is saying to Canadians, your vote does not count, that he will overpower the decision that you made through dirty backroom deals that give him unrestrained power to raise your taxes and increase your costs. I feel badly for Ms. Gladew's constituents. She has said that members of Parliament that flip parties after they were elected promising to be in a different one should be forced to run in a by-election. I couldn't agree more.
This comes, of course, as the Liberals gathered for their convention in Montreal, as we were just talking about, where they welcomed Marilyn Gladue, their newest member. And those Liberal sources continue to talk about more names to come, getting ready to cross the floor. Earlier, I spoke to a Conservative Alberta MP, PoiliOVER, about the state of the Conservative Party.
All right. So before we go into that, again, you see Pierre's comments there. When he says he couldn't agree more, that's a recent position because he had an opportunity to vote on that in the House a few years ago. And he didn't share that opinion then. There's also other times in his political career where he could have taken some steps to ban or curtail floor crossing and didn't do that either. This is a recent belief of his. Very, very recent belief. All right. Yeah, everything about him oozes insincerity. His ham-handed gestures look like he practices in front of a mirror. You are right, Kid Bucky. That definitely sounds right in there. And again, talking about again, the whole sort of like a dirty backroom deal thing and all that kind of stuff, right? Which again, we keep on pointing out on this show. Dirty backroom deals is literally how he still has a seat in the House. Feeling bad for Marilyn Gladue's constituents because she's clearly some type of opportunist. The people of Battle River Crowfoot wouldn't be able to empathize or recognize themselves in that at all. Right? All right. Let's look at Mr. Majumdar here. All right.
PoiliOVER, thank you so much for joining me.
Glad to be here.
Okay, well, so we'll start with this 4th Conservative MP who has now joined the Liberal caucus, Marilyn Gladue. I think you would agree, a little more right-leaning than the other people that have left caucus, and I wonder what you think that says about how people are feeling inside Conservative caucus.
Okay, question. How are people feeling about that inside the Conservative caucus?
Well, more importantly, I think a lot of these people, our colleagues in the House, are going to have to answer to the people that elected them.
Well, more importantly, I think that the colleagues in the House are going to have to answer to the people that elected to them. Will not engage with the question right off the bat. Right? There's a compact. He turns around and goes, I've been around for 2.5 years. He hasn't been around for 2.5 years. He's been around for quite a while, actually. Right? Because I look at constituents in the eye and I made a commitment. They're going to have to go back home, blah, blah, blah. He calls it a bait and switch. All that kind of thing. Anyway, let's get back to Rosie here, and let's see how he picks it up from this point on. He says that there's a bait and switch happening. There's no bait and switch happening. There's people who ran under the conservative banner, and if we're talking about a compact, maybe there was a compact between the leader and his caucus about how it is that he would behave, and he's not respecting that, and now they're going.
Be held accountable by their own people.
I mean, that's totally fair, but surely there is also a message for the Conservative Party and your leader in this as well, because 4 is it's a big number in a short period of time.
I worry about the message that this delivers to the Canadian public at large. Here,
see, once again, do not acknowledge the premise and flip it. Just again, not engaging. He talks about we're a country that has problems with trust in our institutions and trust in our democracy. He says that he's worried that these floor crossings, about the amount of lack of trust that it's going to introduce into the public. Well, you could do something about that, sir, by demanding that your leader don't run his party in a manner such that would cause people to want to leave. Perhaps. Or do politics in a manner that's so toxic and caustic that when you've been asking people to do that, feeding them a steady diet of that for 2.5 years, and then you lose, and you ask them, hey, if we just need to keep on doing what we're doing for another 4, and we'll get a chance again. Some people may not want to sign on to that because 4 more years of that, that might do stuff to one's health or body. Right? To be stewing in that kind of toxic brew for that long, that's not a happy life. So, um, so, he keeps talking here, and Rosie tries to get him another to engage in the topic by trying to come at it from a different angle or different perspective then. Right? So if you won't talk about your party, what it is that you learned or what message you received, maybe you can talk about some contrast then.
But you're kind of making the other point here, and that is if the Liberals are borrowing, to be generous, some of the ideas from the Conservatives. They're inspired. Yeah. If the Conservative caucus has been supporting some of the legislation because it moves, you believe, the country in the right direction, now we're getting to a point where it's very difficult to differentiate the parties. And I wonder if that's part of the problem, that some people actually see the Liberal Party doing the things Conservatives have been talking about.
Well, listen, for more than 8 million voters that Conservatives now represent, we have not seen a single result on the decisions that need to be taken. Not on major infrastructure projects, not on crime, not on immigration.
So again, not engaged with the question, but then just going down the rabbit hole that Mark Carney is a failure, right? Hasn't done anything on crime, hasn't approved any pipelines, that type of things, right? And it's sort of like he hasn't done anything on immigration, even though we have like negative growth at the moment. He hasn't built anything. I don't know where Mr. Majumda's experience in infrastructure comes from, but I would like one conservative MP or pundit or media pundit to explain to us, to name specifically when it comes to the pipeline, which pipeline project is already set and delivered. The papers and the studies and everything are all on the table and it's just waiting for a signature to be approved so that it could go ahead. Number one. And number two, which major nation building project? We're talking about major nation building projects here, not just like putting up a little lemonade stand here. A nation building project. Which ones go from concept to have actually been completed and built in the space of 1 year and what? Really? What do they expect to have been done? Because of course the context is that they would have done better. And we very recently had an experience of them in government for 10 years and they couldn't build a single inch of pipeline towards tidewater water, despite changing laws to try and make it easier. And having the most pro-oil government in both Alberta and Ottawa at the same time. And they want this done. They cry for it all the time. It's like, if only we had a pipeline, everything would be better. Well, we built them a pipeline under Trudeau. We have a pipeline to first pipeline to Tidewater in 70 years, and we also have shipments of LNG going to Asia. And they're still, if only we had a pipeline, everything would be better. It's like, come on, guys. There's more to an economy than just pipelines. I understand it's our biggest export, and I understand it's the export that brings in the most money, but our issue here is diversification. Not only of markets, but what it is that we export. These people, I swear. But yeah, I'm not sure what it is they expect would have been built in the space of a year. So, again, he's rejecting every premise that's being put to him. So once again, Rosemary Barton comes to him and asks,
the people of this country deserve a government that's working for them.
Okay, but are you telling me there's no conversation inside Conservative caucus about why this is happening and what you can do to stop more people from leaving?
Listen, our caucus is united. It's focused. We reflect the frustrations.
Well, you probably thought that 3 days ago, and then someone else left.
Our caucus unity has been strong, and when you see the teamwork that we generally have, it's actually quite effective across the country. We have people who now represent from Windsor to Newfoundland.
so basically, you tell me what you're all seeing, and I just don't see it. It's happening. Caucus is united. Well, you thought that a couple of days ago. No, caucus is united. That Gladue thing? What Gladue thing? What Gladue thing? Nothing happened. Nothing happened over the past few days that would give the impression that we're not united. So the entire interview was like this. He had one assignment. Protect the dear leader. Do not usurp dear leader by not acknowledging in any way, shape, or form, no matter how many times you are asked, no matter how it makes you look during the interview, was that there is absolutely anything that the Conservatives could do to improve or be better or not have this happen. Nothing about what's going on is the fault of the party or the leader. There's no problems. We're all united. We've got the solutions. Canadians really want them. They support us. We just got to keep doing what we're doing, and eventually they will get our message. Immediately after we had 3 by-elections where this incredible support that they talk about. We got 87% of the delegates. Our party is strong. So, again, those were hand-picked delegates at the EDA level. That most of them pre-stated that they were going to vote for Pierre. You could have had a one-member, one-vote delegation event or vote, but you didn't do that. You lost the election, pushed the guy out of the seat, went to a safer seat, won the seat, had a leadership convention coming, and then the Conservative Brain Trust found a way to hold a convention in such a way that would guarantee that Pierre PoiliOVER would not only win, but get a big number that they could forever point to. But you had to go to Calgary to do that, and if you wanted to vote against him, not only did you have to go to Calgary, but you had to pay $1,000 for the privilege. If you could make it through the gauntlet of being selected by your EDA to go. But when we just had these by-elections in 2 ridings in Ontario and 1 riding in Quebec, and mind you that the Ontario Progressive Conservative Party provincially was having an own meeting or convention at the same time, so a lot of people from Ontario couldn't go. And I'm not sure how many people from Quebec would like to take a flight to Calgary in January and pay $1,000 for the privilege of voting against Pierre. But in those 3 ridings, we just had by-elections, and in none of them did more than 20% of the vote share go to Conservatives. The 87% of membership that they keep on saying, it's not 87% of the members. It's 87% of hand-picked delegates. The membership wasn't asked to vote. But if they have that full-fledged support of 87%, where were they on the 13th? Why didn't they show up to vote? Why did they not show up to vote? You got to ask the question. 87% of our members are full square behind the leader. Well, in Terrebonne, that represented that total to 1,548 Canadians. I'm sorry, but in a riding that has 91,344 electors on the list, 1,548 votes is not, I do not know where you get the impression that you're a government in waiting. Scarborough Southwest, 85,796 electors on the list. 5,433 came up for the Conservative candidate. You're not on the verge of a majority of that. University of Royal, Conservative candidate who finished second there last time, finished third this time. 3,843 votes in a riding that had 123,812 potential electors. Sorry, number of electors on the list, 93,971, sorry. On the list. The 3 combined, right? We have 31,000 votes in University Rosedale. We have 28,909 in Scarborough Southwest for a total of what? 59,909. So let's just say 50,000, let's say 60,000 to round it up. And we had 46,814 votes in Terrebonne. So let's say 107,000 votes were cast during that by-election, total. Conservatives picked up about 10,900 of those votes throughout the whole night. 10,500 out of about 107,000. But they want you to believe that everybody's fine and you have all that, they have all that support. They just don't. They just don't. They scored if 10%, about 10% of the total votes cast that night. That momentum they want you to believe is there. It's not there. That inevitability. It's not there. The air has been let out of the tires. It's dead politician walking. But yep, they're not cluing in here. According to Rachel Aiello, CTV, despite being dealt double-digit defeats in 3 federal banded Prime Minister Mark Carney, his majority Conservative leader Pierre PoiliOVER says he has no plans to resign. Quote, Canadians might be discouraged right now because of the current political situation, but let us say this, Canadians should not give up, he said in the House of Commons on Tuesday, vowing to continue fighting for Canadians. But we sure wish you would. Quote, and I will continue to lead that fight in this House, across this country, and in the next election. It is inevitable that I am going to be here to run in the next election, just as it was inevitable that I would be your Prime Minister today, as a member from Carleton. Maybe you should stop with the Pierre the Inevitable thing. Not working. Not working. The decline of the Conservative vote in Terrebonne boosted both the Bloc Québécois and Liberal vote shares. The Bloc Québécois did much better than we did last year, Yves-François Blanchet said. He attributed that collapse in Conservative and NDP support. I want to bring you, I think there's the rest of that quote here from him, because I do have a visual of Yves-François Blanchet stating that. So let me just pop that up for you here, because Yves-François Blanchet, first part of his thing, good, when he's saying that, they did better than the last time. But he made another statement afterwards that is not exactly factually correct. So now, Yves-François Blanchet, when I'm talking about like opposition parties, doesn't really have anything to reproach himself. Like I said, his party did well, increased the vote share. It was close, fewer than 1,000 votes. The campaign doesn't say anything about the Bloc Québécois itself or its ability to compete on such things in any way, shape, or form. Right? It's just, how would you put it? The way that the votes fell this time. The Bloc did a great job campaigning.
Today, in a press conference, Bloc Québécois leader François Blanchet said his party lost last night because of the NDP and the Conservative vote collapse, even though the party performed better than last year. Just have a listen to this.
But I don't dispute the result. I just say that we did very well while everybody else crashed. We lost because even if we had a lot more votes in terms of percentage than last year, the Conservative crashed to 3.5%, and the NDP crashed to half of 1%, and almost all those votes went to the Liberals because of the situation in the world.
All right, very good.
Now, that last little bit that Monsieur Blanchet said is not true. It isn't true. The majority of those votes, well, the overwhelming majority of those votes, the way that he's describing it, did not go to the Liberals because in the 2025 election, the one where the vote was annulled, the Liberal candidate, Tatiana Auguste, got 38.741% of the vote, and Nathalie St-Clair de Gagné got 38.739% of the vote. So they both got 38.7% of the vote. All right. In the 2026 by-election that just took place, Tatiana Auguste got 48% of the vote, 48.3. Nathalie St-Clair de Gagné got 46.89 or 46.9. So let's say they got 48 and 47, if we're rounding. Both had the same amount last time. For all intents and purposes, they were both at 37.4. Was it 37.4? If my memory was still good. 38.7, sorry. And the difference this time is what? A little more than 1%. So the overwhelming percentage of the vote that collapsed from the NDP and Conservative candidates did not go to the Liberals. About 55% of it went to the Liberals. The other 45% went to the Bloc. So what Monsieur Blanchette is saying near the end of that they lost because not only did the vote collapse, but that the vote that collapsed pretty much all went to the Liberals. That's not true. It was almost an even split. Almost an even split. Slightly more did go to the Liberal candidate. But it wasn't like it was this 80-20 thing that made, like, all the Federalist forces that voted for Conservatives and NDP just took their vote and voted against us. No, they attracted a lot of that vote. Both of their vote shares went up. Miss Auguste's just went up by 1.4% more. 1.4% is not a runaway. It's a clear victory, but it's not a runaway. There was no collapse of the vote that disadvantaged the Bloc here in a manner that's statistically significant enough for it to be mentioned and hang the hat on. Continuing on with that, kits and cubs. So yeah, Pierre basically saying that he, of course, as we mentioned on the show, that's pretty much more up to the party. Because one would assume that within a couple, after a while, especially if these polling numbers remain low, some of these party members might start to feel less positive about him, some of them that are still sticking with him. While Conservatives say these ridings were not Poilievre's to win, there is some acknowledgement that the downward trend isn't a good sign for the party. Quote, it leaves them in a less, well, let's say a weakened position relative to where they have been, said David McLaughlin, former chief of staff to Prime Minister Brian Mulroney. It's just more proof that the narrative of losing is settling in. McLaughlin went to say the decision on Mr. Poilievre's future has shifted from the party to the caucus. From Prime Minister Stephen Harper's then communications director Dimitri Soudas said that when the party loses by as much as Pierre Poilievre did on Monday night, quote, it's not business as usual. Quote, but what that indicates is that if there was an election today, many Ontario Conservative MPs would actually lose their ridings, he said. Soudas cited Poilievre's recent critique of Carney, accusing the Prime Minister of being very badly educated on economics as something, quote, that just turns caucus off. Quote, I think that the Conservative caucus has spent enough time asking what needs to change, Soudas said. The harder question, the one that actually leads to power, is who needs to change. Not what needs to change, who needs to change. Though when asked on Parliament Hill about the by-election results, Conservative MPs who stopped to take reporters' questions were defiant. I 100% support Pierre, said Conservative MP Ben Lobb. He's trying to do the right things. He's awesome. He's fantastic. He's well-informed. He has the experience. He's on top of the issues. He cares about Canadians, and he's saying all the right things that Canadians need to hear. Are we watching the same show? Conservative MP Kostas Menagakis. Because Canadians are not seeing it. Quote, when he becomes prime minister. Sorry, I'm not supposed to do that. When he becomes prime minister, you'll see a different government here that will deliver real results. See again, real results. Because the results we're getting are not real. 140 members in our caucus who continue to support and believe in Pierre PoiliOVER's leadership, said Conservative MP Michael Barrett. Yes. As 8 are talking to the Liberals about the potential crossing over, and 40 are wondering if they should maybe start writing a letter to get Pierre, to push Pierre out the window. But sure. Nick Nanos, who's a pollster, said that while caution is needed in projecting by-election results onto the broader country, in part because turnout is rarely comparable, it's fair to consider them a report card on parties' internal abilities to motivate and mobilize voters. The fact of the matter is that all parties have to be accountable for how they perform internally, Nanos said. Asked Tuesday if he was PoiliOVER, if he'd quit today, Carney was caught off guard. Quote, that's an unfair question, he said, laughing. I can't look into the heart of Mr. PoiliOVER. I respect him as a parliamentarian, and I do as I do the other leaders of the other parties. Carney said he will continue to work with him and all parliamentarians, as will my colleagues, to advance the interests of Canadians. So yeah, since we happen to be speaking about the wonderful Mr. Michael Barrett, let's take a look. Some things to say, because he recently as well granted an interview. Oh, by the way, I didn't mention that Mr. Majumdar, who we watched on Rosie Barton Live there on the weekend when he was available, also granted an interview to CTV's Question Period, Vashti Kapelos, and it was pretty much the same vibe. It wasn't particularly impressive. That was his assignment. And listen, if there are treats and prizes within the party for having taken the assignment and done it well, then he's going to get a cookie for what he did. But in terms of any Canadians who are looking at reality and we're expecting a serious response from the Conservative Party as to what was happening, or what was not sure what was happening, but a serious response to indicate how they would adjust for the future. Didn't get it. But then again, the last time the party was in the situation when they lost the election and the party had to indicate what they were going to do to adjust to the future, we had Pierre PoiliOVER walking through a farmer's field, turns out it was Damien Currick's farm, with his wife, Anita PoiliOVER, stating that he had learned and that there would be change. And then it never came. Well, that's not true. We had moments, we had concepts of change. Right, when he went on the Joe Rogan podcast and for 2 hours and 20 minutes was able, between long interruptions talking about MMA and kickboxing and kettlebelling and ketosis and all this kind of stuff, slipping in a couple of moments of, here, look, I can too. I can appear statesman-like if I want. But it's something that he can't sustain, right? And he just back to being regular low Pierre. All right, here we have Michael Barrett, and there's another thing, right? Pierre is not also inevitable, but Pierre is also infallible.
Potential loss of power at committee. I'm joined now by Conservative MP Michael Barrett, who is the party's critic for ethics and accountable government. Mr. Barrett, good to see you. It's good to have you back on the show.
Hey, great to see you too.
Have you been given any indication yet from the government on how exactly they intend to change the committee structure? Because all the signals are they're going to reform them.
Yeah, we don't know what they haven't signaled to us or shared with us what that's going to look like, and they can do it a couple different ways. One, by removing a conservative from every committee and diminishing the voice of all of those who elected conservatives, and look to have an accountability mechanism, a check against the power of government. Or they can add a Liberal to every standing committee. So we don't know which it's going to be, but we have some signals on what it might look like when they do make a change.
Okay. So here, just want to point out again that this guy here is saying that when it comes to the committees and all that kind of stuff, that they could either remove a conservative and keep the committees at the same number, right? And, reducing our voice, blah, blah, blah. Or they could add a member. Which, if he wanted to seal the argument, he presents the argument as if Liberals eliminating a member, so replacing a conservative by a Liberal, would be diminishing the voice or taking their voice away, but that the Liberals adding, let's say, an 11th member to a 10-member committee, and then that's giving themselves the majority, which would dilute the voice of the conservatives. That's the whole reason why you take the majority from committees when you have them, because if people are being unhelpful, it gives you the option to dilute that attempt, and that the work can happen anyway. It goes slower because they grind everything down and they make everything take twice as long, and they don't cooperate, and they use the meeting time inefficiently and all that kind of stuff. But the stuff does get through. He doesn't finish the argument, because if his argument is fear that conservatives will have less voice, fear, what will happen as a result? It doesn't matter whether or not it's by removing a conservative member and keeping the committee at 10, or adding one and adding a Liberal, making the committee at 11. It still ends up being the same thing, doesn't it? The majority goes to the other party, the party that's not yours, that's not conservative, and therefore the opportunity to block and interfere and filibuster and all that kind of stuff becomes lesser, or if it's still there, the impact is less effective. It just happens. But if you're going to make that argument, then you need to complete it. And he didn't. Here. Let's continue on here. He's going to be pressed a little bit here, if I remember correctly, about what it is that he knows as to how the composition of the committees is going to be changed, or when it is going to be happening.
Way it is going to be the majority government. The new majority government will get the majority on all the committees. Now, that is their right to do that as a majority, and in most normal times, that's how they're automatically constituted. But they did agree last year that the committees would stay balanced for the duration of the parliament. So they explained why they've decided to go back on what they voted for a year ago.
Well, they haven't explained that to us or to Canadians, and we're concerned by some of the signals that we're seeing based on what's happening at committee with government members, Liberal members, filibustering committee's work. And the Ethics Committee is in its third day facing a Liberal filibuster. We're looking for some basic accountability about a minister, the $90 billion Alto project, and looking to have him come and speak about his concerns about a conflict of interest that he said required him to recuse himself, but he voted on it. He participated in discussions, debates, and decisions on it. And the Liberals don't seem to want to allow a very straightforward set of 2 meetings to get that accountability, which is having the ethics commissioner testify at the ethics committee. I think that's its reason for being.
Right.
Okay, so you will notice, number one, David Cochrane is back. goodness. You will notice David Cochrane, who does the David Cochrane thing in that previous question, he slipped a little bit of civics in there, stating that the composition of these committees are normally set at the beginning and normally are set to indicate that there would be a majority, but did give us a piece of information. It was a piece of information I was not aware of until I heard it on that show, that it seems that there was a vote early on where the Liberals had agreed to keep the composition of the committees the same for the entire session of Parliament, which means if they wanted to change the session of Parliament based on that agreement, if they wanted to honor that agreement, that they would indeed prorogue to create a new session. Doesn't mean that they couldn't do it anyway, but they'd have to go through the other extra steps and, of course, break their stride by, suspending Parliament a little bit and then bringing it back and then having another speech from the throne and then, having to decide what they're going to do with the bills when where they were in the order paper because they die. Now, sometimes you can bring them back where they were, pass a motion for that, but I think you might need unanimous consent for that. Maybe. I can see a world, if that was the case, that the Conservatives might disagree to slow things down, especially now that they've got nothing to lose, given that they think that they're not going into an election anytime soon. They need to be careful about that, however, because if they do continue to do that, now that the government does have a majority, once everybody else is sworn in, they could go to the Governor General and just claim obstruction. And then ask for an election. So, and it probably might not be at a time that is convenient for the Conservatives. So it's not like the Conservatives have got it like that right now. But given that they feel that they have some time, that's an option that they could make here. David Cochrane, and you see here that Michael Barrett here is talking about the ethics thing that we talked about yesterday, right? Saying that the François Philippe Champagne thought that there might be an ethics issue at some point, so wrote to the ethics commissioner to get clarity on that. Yes, and the ethics commissioner responded with that, yeah, there is absolutely no issue here. It's like the reporting mechanisms don't involve you whatsoever. You have no influence over this. This is not, it's not a thing. Go forth and be okay, right? The Conservatives, despite this, want the ethics commissioner to come and testify at committee about the decision, because once again, the ethics commissioner is the expert, and he made a decision that the Conservatives don't like, so therefore the ethics commissioner must be wrong. Their ignorance must be worth at least as much as the ethics commissioner's expertise that the ethics commissioner would need to come to committee and justify the decision that this is so not even close to what a conflict of interest would be, that why are you wasting my time? They want him to come and waste more time so they can get some clips of them questioning the ethics commissioner really hard so they could put it on their socials. Well, let's watch this exchange back and forth with Mr. Barrett, where David Cochrane is going to throw in some of that civic stuff and real information in his responses, and watch once again this member of the Conservative Party do the same thing that the other one did, just deny reality and continue on as if the points that are reality-based that David Cochrane is making actually matter.
This is François Philippe Champagne, the finance minister. He was on the show last night, and this is about his spouse, his partner, who's working with Alto. He took steps to protect himself from a conflict of interest, but they've released through his office an email from the ethics commissioner's office, who reviewed it and said, you're not in a conflict, you don't need to do anything. So he took steps he didn't need to take, it seems, out of an abundance of caution. So if he's been told by the ethics commissioner's office there's no problem, then what's the problem?
Well, there's a lot of questions that haven't been answered for Canadians. It was the finance minister who told the prime minister that because of his relationship with a vice president at Alto, that he believed that there was a conflict of interest that would be created. So we want to have the finance minister have the opportunity to explain to Canadians, but also to answer questions. The ethics commissioner needs to speak to how it is that a minister could take decisions about a crown corporation on whether or not it should see the passage of legislation that allows the continuation of her job. So that's the purpose of the Conflict of Interest Act, is to prevent ministers from taking decisions.
But it seems like the ethics commissioner has already ruled on this, that it's fine. right? That because of the way Alto reports to Parliament and up through a different line minister, the finance minister himself isn't in a direct conflict, right? We're getting a little bit away from the issue, but if that has been the ruling of the Ethics Commissioner's office, then why is there the need to have a formal hearing on it?
Well, I think the fact that you have to ask the question and the fact that Canadians have expressed they don't understand why the minister said he thought there was a conflict, the commissioner has said what he said to the minister but not to Parliament,
right.
That we need to get answers on that. And so it's peculiar that if the minister says there's nothing he's done wrong and he's got a letter he can bandy about, then come before committee and do that. But instead, we're met with a filibuster.
Okay, so if they do...
All right. So this is, like I said, utter insanity. Right? Talking about if the finance minister has any bearing on a decision that would impact the continuation of her job. That's not at play here. The finance minister doesn't take part in any hiring or decisions or whatnot. The hiring, if there was anything at a level high enough that would require it, would be the department of the Minister of Transportation. There literally is no role. Right? Well, the ethics commissioner said it to him in a letter, but he hasn't said it to Parliament or Canadians. He needs to come here and say that. Why? There's the letter. It exists. It's been circulated. It's been made public. Well, the finance minister needs to come to testify. I mean, he's got a letter he can brandy about. He needs to come to the committee and show it. Why does he have to come to committee and show it? All he has to do is make it public, which he didn't even need to have to, because ethics commissioner I mean, this one might not have been published, ethics commissioner decision published, because it wasn't a case that was referred to him for official. It was somebody that asked him for advice individually, so those are probably given individually. So yeah, okay, maybe in that case, now that I'm thinking about it, fine. They don't believe him that he has a letter. They want to see it. That's fine. But they could just write his office and ask them to submit that as an exhibit. Another member on the committee from the Liberals could probably take the letter and bring it in and enter it into evidence. He's not needed for that. We don't need to take time and put cameras and microphones and photocopiers and translators, whatnot, for him to come in and see, I got a letter. Right? And then, there's just no purpose for this. Well, Canadians are confused. We don't understand why it is that François-Philippe Champagne thought he might have had a conflict. His partner works for the company. That's why he thought that there might have been a potential conflict. So he went to the ethics commissioner and said, just like, we're doing this thing that I have not, was decided before I was finance minister, and that I have not attributed any money to in my last budget as finance minister. This thing that we intend to do, that we have announced that we are going to do. Is there a conflict? Because my partner happens to work for the company that would get the contract. An abundance of caution, which is what we hope people do. It's what we want people to do. This is behavior we want to encourage. If you even have a modicum of an idea that something might be an issue, say something, clear it up. Don't sit here and go, is this an issue? Oh, I think I'm fine. Just ask. That's what the ethics commissioners is there for. Ask. If you have a little voice in the back of your head, say, maybe I should clear this. Maybe I should ask. Maybe I should wonder. I don't know. This is probably fine, but let's be sure. You ask. And he did. That's what we expect. The ethics commissioner said everything's fine. That's what we expect. So why, in that case, should the person who did all the things that we expect, who went over and above, then be dragged before committee and have his reputation smeared as if he's trying to get away with something? That the ethics commissioner decision isn't good enough. That needs to be questioned and probed. And we need to demand a further ethics probe into this. So basically, David Cochrane has given them all this information, the information that they know. But regardless of that, we still need to bring them in. People are confused. It seems to me only you're the only one who's confused, Mr. Barrett. The ethics commissioner isn't confused. The minister of finance isn't confused. I think anybody can understand the concept of why did he ask? The very fact that you're asking the question, David, means that we need to look into this. No, we need to ask the question because you guys are being stupid. We're not asking the question because of the behavior. We understand why Mr. Philippe Champagne would have wanted to seek clarity. We understand that reporting mechanisms mean that he doesn't have any role to play, therefore there's no issue, therefore there's no reason for a probe or a screen or anything whatsoever. We can understand the fact of somebody, when it comes to ethics, wanting to be so far away from the line that even though the ethics commissioner says you don't really need the screen, that's okay, I'm going to have a screen anyway. I mean, especially when you consider how defamatory this current bunch of conservatives are. Yeah, right? If the line is here, like what I said yesterday, right? You don't want to be standing right here when it comes to ethics. You want to be. Philippe Champagne is going like all the way over here. Right? He's not even in the same neighborhood as an ethic violation. But the conservatives are right, and Pierre is infallible. Mark Carney is a badly educated economist, and that ethics commissioner does not know his job. And you certainly can't trust the finance minister because, my God, since he wondered if there could be a potential conflict of interest and asked about it, well, that enough. The fact that he was responsible warrants the fact that we should be suspicious of him and drag him through. Like this, again, when we're talking to the Prime Minister in his press conference, when he talked about changing the composition of committees so that we can stop the showboating and get back to some serious stuff, could we please get back to some serious stuff? Again, think about it. The committee time, the airtime, right? Time on the public airwaves is worth money. Michael Barrett got that contribution for free to bring his message. And the message is empty calories, empty political calories. A finance minister wanted to be sure that there was no conflict whatsoever and took the steps to verify that, and it was confirmed, and therefore we must probe him. Because why would he ask if there was a problem? If he didn't think that there was a very big problem. I mean, if the finance minister thought that there might be a problem, so much so that he asked the ethics commissioner, then the ethics commissioner had no other choice than to conclude that there wasn't a problem. Right? If we are going to start criticizing, double and triple and quadruple checking just to be absolutely sure beyond any doubt whatsoever that what you are doing is okay as being something that is bad, perhaps, again, I say it, and I've been saying it a long time, the conservatives are not only not a government in waiting, but are not even a serious enough party to be the official opposition at the moment. They are wasting our time. And they are wasting our money. All of this is just to create engagement and rage bait and clicks. There is no issue here. It is very clear that there is no issue here, and despite the fact that everybody and everyone is indicating there is no issue here, be damned with reality. The reality we wish to live in as conservatives is that the Minister of Finance is inherently corrupt. And we are going to run with this as if it is the case. Despite the fact that this is the type of politics that everybody hates. But that's the Conservatives for you. We also had yesterday and over the past few days to look at Mr. Avi Lewis. We had a few things to say in an interview. And I don't know how to take this guy, to be totally honest. Like, I want him to succeed and I want him to do well. And he has these qualities that are very marketable, if you would want to put it that way. He is smart. He knows his subject well. He can bring the passion when he speaks about that. There's no doubt on any of that. But one of the things that was always commended about Stephen Lewis was the ability to do that in such a way that was rallying and included everyone. And he seemed to be kind throughout. Not necessarily the same can be said with Mr. Lewis here from what we have been able to pick up. He, granted, he had a press availability about 3 days ago, where he was calling for federal action to address what he is referring to as surveillance pricing. Like, for example, when you go to the grocery store and there are digital pricing things, and the prices apparently in some stores, I'm not sure if that's in Canada, but he says here in his press availability here that a separate investigation into algorithmic pricing by Instacart in the United States found that identical products could be as much as 23% more expensive from one shopper to the next. Right? So these predatory pricing practices are not okay because it changes the dynamic, right? Usually, we are taught, or the way that it works is that the market charges the price that that the market can bear. And we learned during COVID that, particularly, that certain corporations, if they know that you really need it, they will make the price go up because you're desperate and you will pay it, and you'll make other sacrifices. So we've gone from we're going to paying what the market can bear to companies or stores having so much direct information about you that it's not what the market in general can bear, regardless of your particular means, but what you personally can bear. So if you have more, if you can afford to pay $50 for the jeans rather than $39.99 because you're better with your money, or you manage it better, or you make more money, or whatever the reason may be, then yeah, you can come to the store right behind the person that just paid $39.99, and you're going to pay $50 because that's how much we can get out of you specifically. That is way too much detail. That's too much information about us, and that's not something that anybody should have. So, pardon me. In this event, here. He is making this his first policy of the party. So we are talking about affordability. We are talking about cost of living and all that kind of stuff. He's on the right terrain here. So yeah, he's here. So we'll get to the end of his statement. Hopefully, I've got the thing timed correctly, because I'm not sure if he was speaking in French before.
Et canadiennes peuvent s'attendre de la part du NPD pour cette session parlementaire. Des solutions concrètes de bon sens.
He repeats in
This
English.
is what you can expect from the NDP in this parliament. Real solutions, laser focused on the everyday emergency of just getting by in a rigged economy. Solutions that work for the 99%, rein in the power of grocery giants and tech oligarchs, and make your life more affordable. And with that, I am happy to take questions. I'm sure they will all be laser focused at the topic on hand today. Thank you.
Okay. Now, when he said that, I thought, okay, that's a bit of a weird thing to say, because if anybody's seen a political press conference, that's not how they go. Somebody comes out to speak about something, and everybody else dutifully, everybody that's there dutifully asks questions only about the topic at hand. That doesn't happen here. So we have a Mr. Lewis here, who seems to want to control the environment in the media zone, as if the zone is there to be stenographer and to bring his message specifically, and not to use the time to also get answers from him to questions that they have, questions that may have been coming from the public. But then I left the room. I said, okay, maybe I'm interpreting that a little harshly. And literally immediately after this happens.
First off, I wanted to express my condolences in person on the passing of your father.
Thank you.
I do have a few things I want to get to on surveillance pricing, but first...
We have a question and a follow-up today.
But first... trying to share the time. Great. But first, I wanted to ask you about one of the big topics.
Okay. And then I saw this, and then I thought, oh, okay, making it clear here that, that there's a certain amount of time, just one question and a follow-up, how it's going to be, because there isn't anybody managing that press conference. Sometimes you have a press conference manager who does that. It seems here that Mr. Lewis is doing both. So then I thought, okay, maybe in this particular instance, in that case, he is, just, trying to make sure that things are clear. The problem is that along the way, he did get some questions about things that are not about his subject that he had brought there. Now, again, some of the things he was happy to speak about, sort of like the what's happening in BC with the Cowichan decision and property rights and stuff of the like. There came a moment where a question was being asked with regard to, I guess, the future of or Heather McPherson, no, Alexandre Bouleris's personal future. And then they were asking him about, the size of the subject of the size of the team came about, and how it was, that it might be reduced by one more soon by Bouleris. So this happened here, which was an
I wonder if I could ask a question on this point. Speaking of MPs leaving, Mr. Boulerice, the CAC their leadership has come into view. Have you made any decision on whether you're going to stay or go as an MP in the House of Commons?
Alors,
Yeah.
tu peux? Oui, oui.
Yeah, okay.
C'est un futur.
Hi everyone. Thank you for the question, but I'm really happy to be here this morning with Avi Lewis to talk about this important motion about affordability and grocery price and price in general. And people are screwed by this artificial intelligence, technique that is really upsetting. So I'm a member of parliament inside the NDP caucus. I'm here to support the team and Avi, and I'm really happy to be here to do my job.
Will you be here next week or next month or 2 months from now?
I'm really happy to be here. I'm happy to do my job as a member of parliament and inside the NDP caucus.
Français, vous voulez pas nous dire, vous voulez pas mettre fin aux rumeurs, aux spéculations sur votre avenir?
Okay, so when all this moment happens here, he's asked about that, and Boulerice comes to the microphone, and you might have heard Avi say on the side, is like when Boulerice, really, you want me to talk about this? Well, it's your future, right? It's about your future, so yeah, maybe you want to answer that. So he's given the time, and he answers it, Boulerice, turns out that finally they don't want the answer to the question, and then this happens, kids and cubs.
Votre avenir politique, Monsieur.
Aujourd'hui, c'est la conférence de presse de Monsieur Lewis.
I think so. Mr. Boulerice, as he's asked the question again, he goes, "I think today is Mr. Lewis's moment. It's his first policy announcement press conference since becoming leader. It's a big deal. You can understand why the rest of the team wouldn't want to overshadow him on this way, and why he would want, at least for his first debut, to not veer off on any other subjects." But then this happens.
You can see what expert mentors I have in sticking to the subject at hand, people. This is how you do it. I mean, we are talking about something that is of pressing concern to Canadians. Think about the last time you were in the grocery store. Did you see a digital price tag on the shelf? Do you know whether or not it's talking to your cell phone and finding out what you last searched for? Do you have any idea if you're paying the same price for toilet paper that the person who just took a package off the shelf did? That's what we're here to talk about today.
For Heather, can we get a question on Trump blocking Iranian ports? But Trump is blocking ports.
David, you're next.
Trump is blocking ports. Are we not allowed to get an answer from the Foreign Affairs?
What's next? I'm happy to take your question.
That's the press gallery's room. If Mickey's got a question, she got it up before I did, so.
Okay.
The question is for Heather as Foreign Affairs.
I'm going to take the rest of the questions today. Thank you.
Okay. Well, what do you make of, well, first off, why can't the Foreign Affairs critic answer?
Oh, let's keep going. With
and secondly, what do you make of Trump blockading ports in Iran?
It is. So first of all, we had a conversation before the press encouraged me to do my first press from the Hill and answer the questions. Yes, I thought it was appropriate when I'm talking about someone's personal future to give Alex a chance to speak about that. Would you like my answer on the question?
Yes.
Yeah, it's another unhelpful.
Okay. Again, can understand his reasoning and to why, Alex and not Heather. That's perfectly fine. But again, right? Admonishing the press gathered for not following his rules and sticking to the subject matter. Probably, again, not the foot you want to get off on here when it comes to such things. And then eventually, that moment came to a head in this event where the press pushed back because when yes, you have a message to get out. And yes, the message, the media is there in its role to inform the public, to bring your message out to the people. You know, you're a politician. People vote for politicians. They represented us. They represent us. They, are elected for that purpose. What it is they say, what it is they advance, needs to be brought to us so that we can make informed decisions. Now we get the straight reporting, and we also get the opinion analysis. We get both of those here. But the press is also there to ask unpopular questions of popular people as well. And when you go to a press conference, yes, you're hosting the press conference, but this is the press's playground. You're on the press's turf. They don't have to come to cover you. So you are in their house. And there's something about going into somebody else's house. I mean, I'm sure we can all experience this, or we know if somebody came into your house and told you how it is that you should be decorating, and you didn't invite them to come in and pay them for this advice, or how you should be running your life. You might tell them where to go, or you might put your foot down and specifically stating that this is my house. Excuse me, but you're in my house. So let's take a little look here. What happens in this moment? Again, just dickish. Dickish. Again. Oops, sorry, not seeing or hearing video. Sorry. I apologize, kids and cubs. I thought for sure that this, ever since they gave us this new system, I tell you, this is not. It used to be. I'm just saying, it used to be that I had to press one button and it would show, and now there's a whole series of buttons that I have to connect to get something here, and I'm sorry, it just does not work every time. It's just not as smooth as it used to be, and I apologize. This seems to be happening a lot, and I am not too sure how it is that I am not picking up on when it is that it is showing or not. I don't know what it is that I'm missing here, kids and cubs. I'm so sorry. All right. That's why it happens. It takes me out of Restream when I set it up, and then I have to come back into it. That's why I'm having so much trouble. Okay. It's a 4-step process rather than a one-step process, as it was the case. So again, here we go, kids and cubs. I'm so sorry once again for having had that mistake. But here's the moment.
Everyone in this caucus, and we'll see what happens.
Surveillance pricing? I promised I'd have a question on that.
We're looping around for a second go.
So
That's the part where I said, again, this unnecessary dickishness again. And then look, the people in the back are laughing as well, as if like this is behavior that's appropriate. And you'll see how long he has a smirk on his face here.
on surveillance pricing, so I don't know the exact.
Do they read to the rules, or you just ignore them? Or it's okay. It's
okay. There's our rules in here.
rules. You're the new one. Yeah. Like this is our room.
Sorry, I promised you there
We
would be a
actually
question
have a pass.
on surveillance pricing, and I don't think you've gotten one yet. So I wanted to.
Sorry, I'm being mocked for not having a pass.
Well, you're trying to
I'm
tell
just
us the rules
that.
here, and you're making up rules that aren't the rules. We know the rules
suggested
because we have this pass,
to
and we
share
agree
our
to the.
time today. We suggested a question of follow-up, but I'm happy to take an extra one from your colleague.
Great. So on the surveillance pricing issue.
Again, just unnecessary. I'm saying here that you still only just saw me. Okay, Elaine is seeing and hearing it, but not everyone. I am very confused about what's showing up now based on the comments from the Kits and Cubs. I am so sorry. I have no idea. Hold on. I'm going to have to go onto the screen and take a look. Okay, I see it. Okay, I have a 30-second delay here, but what is showing on the screen for me here does have Mr. Lewis and the gang here, what I can see. And whoops, what is going on with this screen? Jeez. Okay. Yeah. So I don't know if you guys saw it or not. Oh, okay, Mr. Saucy, I'm a minute behind. Okay, that's what it was. Okay, I was wondering. Oh my God. So yeah. Okay. So then, yeah, you did get to see the moment then. Okay, thank you. So yeah, and I'm seeing the comments here. Reminds me of PoiliOVER. I don't like it. Yeah, same here. And totally unnecessary. Again, right? This is not his first press availability since becoming leader. He's had a couple, and he's given some interviews, but this is the first one where he's presenting a policy. Right? He's making his debut, introducing his first policy position, and yeah. This type of attitude and interaction with the press, this is not going to take him far. Right? One of the problems that we are having with our democratic system in a way is that we are allegedly a multi-party system. But we are turning slowly into just a two-party system in certain ways. But also, like on our show, a lot of people accuse us of being very liberal partisans. And our reason, we're not liberal partisans, but we do like competence and common sense and method and rigor and seriousness and adults in the room. And if you have three major political parties, but two of them are treating the press like things that need to be beaten down into submission, rather than finding a way to just strategically and cleverly and being very pragmatic with how you interact with the press, similar to that which Mark Carney is doing, that you rule yourselves out from consideration from many people. And if you rule yourself out from consideration, well, at some point, if I'm sitting here and I want a serious party, and I'm watching Pierre treat the press as he does, and I'm watching Avi Lewis treat the press like this, it leaves me one party. If we're talking about the big three, I have other options, but it leaves me one party. I can't vote for that. I can't vote. Sometimes you need to push back against the press. Sometimes. But you can't start out combative like this. You just can't. This is not appropriate behavior. The press is there to bring your message, but to also serve us, the people who vote for you, by informing us. When the press shows up, it's their event, not yours. A little respect. For me as a citizen, when I'm talking about my democracy, right? The way politicians treat the press, it's the same thing for me as when I'm on a date and how my date treats the staff. When you're on a date with someone and someone's really rude, you're at a coffee shop or at a restaurant, whatnot, someone's really rude to the staff, they don't get a second date with me. I can't abide by that. When a politician stands in front of the press, and the press is just trying to do its job, and behaves like this, I can't support that. It makes it very difficult for me to consider voting for that. It's like, you don't control the press conferences, and I might recommend, if anything, the NDP should probably spend some of its budget to have somebody who will coordinate press conferences in the future, and not leave that to the leader. It's not his strong suit here. The NDP would be very wise to invest in someone to take care of that for future press conferences. That's all I will say. So yeah, not the best moment for Mr. Lewis, unfortunately, here. On one-on-one interviews, media, he does do a little better. Saw him on Primetime Politics yesterday, giving a couple of answers to some questions, and they're much more, I guess, what one might expect, considering the importance of the subjects at hand, and what we come to know to be the standard on these types of interviews. Here we have him at CPAC with Michael on Primetime Politics, and just a couple of questions specifically about the fact that we are now in a majority position with regard to the Liberals. And let's see what we have here with you. Here with you. Here, what we have with this. Okay, let's bring this on. Let me see if I can nail getting the thing onto the screen this time. There we go. All right, flips me of restream, so I'm checking this out. I have to come back in and then put it up, and everything is moving. I have a feeling that this is never going to be seamless until Restream fixes this again, because I used to be able to do this really seamlessly, and now it just refuses. Sometimes I have to put it up 3 or 4 times before it does. but here it is up now. So let's go into this.
His party introduced today. We're now joined by Avi Lewis, the recently elected leader of the federal New Democrats. Mr. Lewis, Avi, thank you for being here.
Michael. Good to be here again.
Good to see you. So listen, I want to start this by noting that we will talk about your party's surveillance pricing motion. But first, I want to get your lay of the land here, because here we have the Liberals today celebrating their majority. They welcome to their fold 3 new MPs, one elected amongst them. But one of those entering the Liberal fold is a former deputy leader of the Ontario New Democrats. So what do you make of this Liberal majority and how it's been cobbled together?
Yeah, I mean, it is a majority government and things are going to change in Ottawa now. And I think it's troubling the way the majority has been assembled. I know the Liberals like to say they won it in the by-elections, but they barely needed the by-elections because of all the floor crossers. And this floor crossing phenomenon, I think if you talk to experts in parliamentary history, I don't know it's ever happened before that a majority government has been assembled in a British parliamentary system from floor crossers. Canadians vote for the member of parliament and they vote for the party. And to see someone cross the floor, I mean, everybody knows the NDP has a policy against it. We believe if you want to change parties, resign, get a by-election, get a new mandate from the people. I worry about our relationship to our own vote and to democracy. We're living in a time of rising authoritarianism around the world. Two-party system in the United States, where they're kind of interchangeable in some ways, led to the cynicism and the alienation that led to Donald Trump. And we need to have a vote that's meaningful, which is why we also need proportional representation, so we don't have 36% or 37% of the vote giving a government absolute power. And things like floor crossings, they just erode the sense that Canadians have that our vote matters. And so I think it's troubling. I really do.
Okay, you find it troubling, and you're right. Like, I mean, had it not been for these 5 floor crossers plus these 3 by-election wins, there would be no Liberal majority. But as you know, there remains speculation that there could be more floor crossers.
Yeah.
Are you worried or concerned that one of your members might cross the floor?
No, I'm not. But I don't think anybody sees it coming when it comes. But we're a very small caucus. We meet in a minivan or whatever. Fill in your. I'm not going to go for Don Davies' press gallery speech level of comedy here, but yes, we're a small, intimate gathering. And I had a caucus meeting, my first full multi-hour caucus meeting today, and it's an incredible bunch of parliamentarians who have been doing really hard work with absolutely no support or resources since we lost party status compared to what we've had historically. So it's a very tight group of folks, and we all feel the same way about these floor crossings. And I just think that the Carney, it's now commonplace to say the Carney government has moved to the right. Obviously, these major pieces of legislation are passing with conservative Liberal support. And so even the majority might not look that different when you think about the major piece of legislation that Prime Minister Carney has passed with the Conservatives. But now that you have a social conservative like Marilyn Gladu in a party with Dolly Begum, I just don't know what it means to be a Liberal anymore. And I think for the NDP, this is a moment for us to say to Canadians, we are the progressive party. We're the party of the left. You can count on us to stand up against the corporate oligopolies that sit astride our economy like an octopus and gouge us at the supermarket and at the gas pump. And we're the ones who are going to be fighting back for working class Canadians. And that Liberal monolithic party that spans the whole political spectrum, it seems to work for the powerful, not the many. And so for us, it's clarifying.
Okay, and
so there. This is a performance that I'd more come to expect here. So, handles the majority question well, and then does a very good segue into talking about his team, and then to come about and talking about the issues. But yes, indeed, it does. I do not agree with his position on floor crossing. I also don't agree with his position on democratic reform in terms of proportional representation. But yes, he is, as Saucy goes, sorry, I really don't like this guy. He's playing populism and it's irritating. He is definitely doing populism. He's doing left-wing populism. He's announced that right off the bat. He's announced that right off the bat that it is the path that he is going down. So that's what we're going to get, right? But this was much more in line with what I would expect to have from a party leader in terms of composure, being able to interact with the media without coming across like a dick. On that issue, by the way, kits and cubs, this interview was taken before a certain decision was made here, and because he talked about the NDP not having party status. And if you remember, after the election, there was some talk about if there was to be a meeting between Don Davies, the interim leader of the NDP, and the prime minister, that maybe the prime minister would have offered Don Davies in the NDP to be recognized as a party in order to get their support to get some bills passed in that minority government, because them two alone would have had enough votes to make that happen. Of course, the New Democrats are a little gun shy. Given the consequences for them of the supply and confidence agreement, of course, the New Democrats will say that it's the simple fact of entering into that agreement that did them in. I would argue it's because they did not market their participation in that agreement and their accomplishments achieved from that agreement in a manner that was unifying and that would share the credit, and that would give Canadians the impression that they were indeed a collaborative party and might be a good option to be Canada's second party in government in waiting rather than the Conservatives. They just blew that completely at a time where people were looking for cooperation as well. But according to Marina von Stackelberg, the NDP has been given a financial shot in the arm after getting its parliamentary funding reinstated by the committee that doles out cash for House of Commons operations. The New Democrats will receive $669,780 this fiscal year, money NDP parliamentary leader Don Davies said will be primarily used to hire new staff. Quote, "It will be significant," Davies said. "Having the parties able to function properly is good for Parliament and important for the Canadian voters who sent us here." The change, first reported by Politico, came after the Board of Internal Economy, a committee comprised of Liberal, Conservative, and Bloc MPs, decided to change its allocation formula and lowered the required minimum seat count to get funding. The NDP previously lost access to that pot of money, which parties used to pay for staff, office needs, research, and more after losing recognized party status in last spring's official election. Official status is set at 12 MPs. The new threshold to receive funding is set at 6 seats based on party representation immediately following an election. Davies said that means that even if the New Democrats lose more MPs, the funds won't be taken away. So basically, now you have to have 6 seats for official party status. "We elected 7 MPs, so the money is based on that and will remain stable for the life of the Parliament," Davies said. He said the agreement is only for this current parliamentary session. The money already started flowing on March 26, Davies said. Until now, the NDP had been relying on the budgets of its 6 individual MPs. The new allocations outlined in the committee's document supplies $1,243,890 each to the Liberals and Conservatives and $956,840 to the Bloc Québécois. Liberal House Leader Stephen McKinnon confirmed the funding change. Quote, "All parties on the Board of Internal Economy opted to reallocate," he said. McKinnon sits on the board, which is chaired by the House Speaker. The NDP lost all its committee seats as a result of its historic electoral defeat last year. Quote, "I want to stress that there's no new funding involved here, and there was a reallocation that indeed gives some resources to the New Democrats," McKinnon said. My only criticism of this, I think that this is good. There's been statements made, the addition, is definitely a party that's meaningful. A lot of people vote for it. There's absolutely no reason for which, we should be denying it this funding. It serves useful purpose. Canadians who are represented by it, that it should have this. It should have this funding, basically, and I don't disagree with that in any way, shape, or form. The part that displeases me a little bit about this is that they didn't extend it to the Greens. Which now I can understand that people would say, well, why would you extend it to the Greens? If you look at the popular vote in the election, the NDP got 1,234,673 votes. The Bloc Québécois got 1,236,349 votes. So the NDP and the Bloc got about the same amount of votes. Right? But that translated to 7 seats for the NDP and translated it into 22 seats for the Bloc. But however, if you're doing a reallocation, and it seems to be a somewhat proportional reallocation, then just why not include all parties represented in the House and ensure that they have a budget? Because, yes, the Greens in the last election only got 238,892 votes, but there was a time not that long ago where they would get 1 million votes in an election. Right? And they have somebody there. Why couldn't they have a couple of resources as well? Of course, that would have been required for them to reduce everything down to 1 seat rather than 6 seats to consider. So the Greens did not get a boost. The NDP did. Don't think that there's anything expected from the NDP in exchange for that. And since it was, a decision of the board itself that included all 3 parties, and all 3 parties decided to reallocate, right? I guess it's a good idea. People might wonder why the other 2 parties agreed. I don't think it's that difficult. The Conservatives need a strong NDP if they wanted to defeat the Liberals. So I'm sure that the Conservatives had no problem ensuring that the NDP had a little bit of money, hoping that they will do well and bring the Liberals back down, act as gravity, political gravity. And, the Bloc Québécois, well, I mean, there's no skin off their teeth because the NDP is not particularly competitive in Quebec, so why would they care? Right? There's 1 NDP seat in all the province of Quebec, and it's about to disappear. Once Alexandre Boulris takes the jump to Quebec Solidaire, and then there's a by-election, and that seat probably goes Liberal. So the Bloc Québécois, yeah, knock yourselves out. Go ahead. The Conservative, I mean, the only reason that the Bloc Québécois would say no is because the money was reallocated. Well, that means that less for us. But I mean, if the Conservatives were willing to do it, then the Bloc would look like a dick if the cheese that was standing alone as well, which probably wouldn't have been that great for the party. So yeah, and the Bloc and the NDP do the current Bloc anyway, and the NDP are both sort of left-leaning parties, so they both support similar initiatives. So it's also not that bad for the Bloc to have a party that in the rest of Canada, except for Quebec, seems to be representing those same values in a manner that the Bloc Québécois would appreciate, particularly since it doesn't pull any votes from them on their own territory. But yeah, that happened as well, that decision here to ensure that they were reinstated pretty much as an official party so that they can get some funding. Now, I'm not sure if that reduction to 6 means that that is what official party status is now, because official party status also comes, right to ask questions and all that kind of stuff, and seats on committee. And I don't think they are going to change that. So it just might be for official party status in terms of committees and all that type of stuff. You still need 12, but for at least funding to participate in a parliament, that in that case it would be 6. So 2 different thresholds, perhaps henceforth. I will need more clarification on that as time goes by, and as we learn more about that, to see if that is indeed the case. But I'm getting the sense, since there was nothing in that article stating that the standard for being recognized as an official party has been changed, that this might be something that those things might have been decoupled in terms of what was needed in order to make this make this decision. Finally, kits and cubs, since we were talking about them briefly, we have the Greens. We have Elizabeth May, who came up to give some of her thoughts with regard to what she believed, what thoughts she had as a result of these by-election results. So let's see if the screen will cooperate again today on this one. There we go. We have her. Let's see what Miss May had to say. Come on. You can work with me here. Oh man, I tell you, if there's an award for patience today, I'm getting it. Here we go. Whoops, sorry. The time thing is off here. There we go.
Nouveau gouvernement libéral. Can we say it's a new majority Liberal government? I want to make a couple of obvious points first, as leader of the Green Party of Canada and someone who pays close attention to politics. I noticed that on April 29th, Scarborough Southwest and University Rosedale and Terrebonne were all Liberal seats. So I find it interesting that we now have a lot of coverage of the Liberals have swept in the by-elections and almost no commentary on why there were by-elections. Obviously, Terrebonne is the exception to every rule, being a Supreme Court decision that due to an Elections Canada egregious error, a voter's vote wasn't counted. But I don't think Bill Blair, the MP for Scarborough Southwest, campaigned in April to say, please elect me for a little while, nor did Chrystia Freeland say, I don't plan to stay. The by-elections have been created by the Prime Minister's internal decision-making with his cabinet about roles for high-profile people in safe Liberal ridings. I don't think we've seen the end of it. Certainly there are abundant rumors that the next high-profile, and I think much respected Liberal who is no longer in cabinet, Jonathan Wilkinson, may be headed for a diplomatic post, which will cause another by-election. By-elections are expensive, and they are difficult for voters when they've just had an election. It's hard to engage people in a by-election. So I make those comments just to say the seat count has changed, not partially because of floor crossing, but only because of floor crossing. And that is part of our Westminster parliamentary tradition. I'm not going to rant against floor crossing, but I do think it's important to note that the electoral map didn't shift because of the by-elections. It's shifted because 4 Conservatives decided to sit with the Liberal Party and 1 NDP member decided to sit with the Liberal Party, and that as individual MPs under Westminster parliamentary system is their right. I think it's not a new observation that people in politics live in glass houses, but certainly Pierre PoiliOVER didn't appear to be shocked when he was called into Rideau Hall with his boss, Stephen Harper, to see his new cabinet colleague, David Emerson, sworn in, who had days before been re-elected, who was a former member of Paul Martin's Liberal cabinet and became pretty swiftly a member of Stephen Harper's Conservative cabinet. These are not unpredictable, well, they've been unpredictable lately, but they're certainly not unprecedented events.
So, interesting here, again, to watch Elizabeth May here making her commentary and making a point to state that floor crossings, as much as some people are disconcerted by them, are a natural part of our parliamentary system. There's no point in railing against them. But making a very good point here. Making a point about the fact that we have, the reason for which we have these by-elections is that Mark Carney took some senior ministers from the Trudeau time and basically gave them permission to run again, despite the fact that they might not be staying long after the win, or that there were other plans for them to ship them out. And I guess the inference by that is maybe we shouldn't do that in elections, you know, and that the people that we present as candidates in ridings for elections are candidates that do commit, save like a major family emergency or something like that, to hold that seat for the duration of the term. Right. Now, to be fair to Prime Minister Mark Carney and the Liberals, the way that the transition took place on the Liberal side, having to have a snap leadership convention after, a sudden resignation by the leader of the Liberal Party at the time, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and then going from that date to having to have an election between then and sometime in October. I think it was March and October or something of the sort. And then just basically, getting on with it and holding that election. Which doesn't give a leader an amount of time, a huge amount of time, to go out and form his own team or to get his own crew or roster of candidates that he would like specifically, because when these people have jobs and commitments and whatnot, and you can't walk. There's very few people that are high-powered in high-powered positions that you can. How would you put it? That you would be ready and available to just drop everything to start a political career, either run in a nomination or maybe even be parachuted in certain cases, and then build a team to run an election campaign, and to consider that moving to a very public life where everything you do is scrutinized and bringing your family into that and whatnot within the space of a month or two. Within the space of a year, however, that is way more possible. So there probably have been some of those discussions, and some of these people will be leaving and we'll be having by-elections. And would you like to come at that time and run for us? So while Elizabeth May does make a very good point on that, for regular and normal circumstances, we also have to acknowledge here that we had very abnormal situations and circumstances for everyone involved in terms of getting organized relatively quickly. She gets asked one more question here that I thought was interesting. So I will bring it to you here.
Over and over again. So I now hear a certain amount of interest in the next speaker, so I don't want to take too much of your time.
There we go. I'll make sure I get the speed thing. Sorry. There we go.
Could I just get to two questions briefly? One, you sound like you're very unhappy that you've lost whatever influence in a minority parliament that you did with this majority. Is that correct or not?
Non, c'est pas vrai, pas du tout. La question d'influence reste la même. There's one vote for the Green Party right now. This majority Liberal government is a squeaker of a majority. One vote's going to matter. So we'll see. I don't feel at all lamenting the fact I've lost influence. I do feel that we need to understand the nature of recognized parties and that rule, because the NDP just managed to get themselves in a position to get money as a party with 6 seats. I'm not interested in the money, but the recognized party rule in this country should apply, and it doesn't apply to say we don't have rights. It's interpreted as though I don't have rights. I had more rights as a member of Parliament on May 2nd, 2011, when I was first elected, than I do now, because I've used my rights effectively, and the larger parties have retaliated and reduced my rights over and over again. But I don't feel my voice is less today than before Mark Carney got sufficient floor crossers to be a majority.
And my second brief question, if I would, Olivier, just for a sec, is Mr. Miller says they're looking at the possibility of putting restrictions on social media, AI, chatbots. You're a parent. You may be a grandparent. I thought you were, but I'm not trying to hasten that. What do you think?
I think we absolutely have to regulate artificial intelligence and the social media conglomerates that are pirates. I don't think we should have gotten rid of the digital services tax. That was one small step. Regulating AI, regulating companies like Chatbox and Grok. One of the things I lament is that when we claim we have elbows up, the Canada Pension Plan is still invested all over the world in things that are not Canadian, and I think a lot of Canadian parents and grandparents are pretty upset to know that the Canada Pension Plan Investment Board put hundreds of millions of dollars into Grok, the company that developed deep fake AI. We have to pull back our pension investments to only benefit Canada, and we have to regulate AI, and we have to do whatever it takes to protect younger generations. It was in the Green Party platform in 2025 to have the same kind of age limitations that are found in Australia, but we need to do more than that. The content and the way in which these transnationals operate need to be regulated in Canada, and we should work in concert with allies around the world, as we were doing with the digital services tax.
So there you go, kids and cubs. Two very interesting questions. I liked the fact that the second question was on the AI kind of stuff, because it's really coming to the fore here in the Canadian parliamentary debate, and we are going to have to definitely take some action on that. Kid Saucy going, I want her sweater. I know, it was lovely, wasn't it? It's just gorgeous. So yeah, that's Elizabeth May here, taking a refreshing position, and again, right, giving us some civics here, letting us know that if it was in between the two, like for example, if official party recognition as official party status, to get time in the House to speak, to ask questions, to be on committees and that type of stuff, versus funding to do the work. If it was up to Elizabeth May, she would prefer to have official party status. Decouple the funding from it. I don't care, so long as I have my rights as an MP to represent my constituents to the best of my ability. And she seems to be indicating here that yes, that that she believes that that is actually the biggest hindrance, because you can always fundraise, right? If you want to hire that staff and have people to do that in a different way, and that's not supplied by Parliament, you can find a way to fund that if you believe that that's really important. But it's the speaking time. It's the time that is needed to do the job of representing, to do the things that the people who vote for you can see you doing and know that you have spoken for them and that you have done right by them. Those are the things that matter more to her. She does have a valid point. If those things were to be decoupled, now that she said it and framed it that way, fine. Don't give her the money on the Board of Internal Economy, but do recognize the fact that the Greens, by virtue of the fact that they are represented, are a party. And there should be no people elected to Parliament who should have fewer rights than anyone else when it comes to doing their job of presenting the most zealous representation of their constituents that they can muster. I think she has a point there. So hopefully, yes, Tavi, she's so good. I wish she had more clout. Same here, man. Same here. Kitsasi, May brings calm logic. I like that. You can be against something without being a dick. You can disagree with the media and not be a dick too. Refreshing, right? Especially now that we saw that, like in the contrast, right, with Mr. Lewis and having confrontational relationships with the media, and then Mr. Majumdar and Mr. Barrett also having confrontational relationships with the media in a different way than Mr. Lewis. Them by just refusing to participate in the interview, by not acknowledging and dismissing any framing that's being given, and Mr. Lewis here by trying to control the room, a room that was not his to control. And then you have, Elizabeth May that just walks up to the mic and says, "Yeah, I'm happy to talk, man. Ask me anything. Let's go." And you have the Bloc Québécois leader, who also generally has very good relationships with the media. There's often lots of jokes and laughter and, and stuff like that in his press conferences. Prime Minister Mark Carney has a good relationship with the media. He's had to push back a couple of times, yes, but overall has a pleasant, relationship. There's some good back and forth, and there's banter, and there's jokes, and good naturedness, and even some gentle ribbing that happens now and then that we see. But that rapport has been established, right? It's easier to get away with some gentle ribbing once you've established a rapport over the course of the year. When you show up at your first press conference, maybe and want to engage in some gentle ribbing when you haven't established that rapport, that may go over not so well too. Timing is everything. But yeah, now when we get to see how various parties handle their relations with the media, yes, it is indeed a wonder why it is that Miss May does not have more clout. And don't get me wrong, she has an incredible amount of clout for the little bit of power that she has. I mean, in Canadian history, rarely have I seen a politician exercise so much clout and so much influence with having so little to work with at the start. So if she had a machine behind her, she would be incredibly impressive. Kit Bucky here saying that Miss May would be a great speaker, but she's too devoted to her party to take it on. I agree. I think that if Mike Morris, and this is just an opinion, but that if Mike Morris had been elected at this time to represent Guelph, he lost by the slimmest of margins, and he will be back racing again the next time around. But had it been him, and had they both been made it, she might have taken it, because there would have been one person to be speaker and one person to do all the things that she does still in the House. In that case, she might have, but given that they were reduced back down to one seat, but at that point, she has to be devoted to the party, because the party, her hope is that the party will continue on once she is gone. So I can see that. All right, Kits and Cubs. Yes, indeed. Kit Saucy, you have that right. I think May was offered and said no, or perhaps someone asked her to be nominated and she didn't want to give up her one vote. I understand her point. Yeah, I believe it was that somebody was potentially going to nominate her, and she said, no, don't, because I won't, if it was offered, I wouldn't take it. Yes, indeed. And she also promoted her co-captain when they had dual representation. Yeah. Okay. I'm seeing some breaking news here from Kit Uncover, but I don't have much details here. It says breaking: Gulf and European officials see U.S. needing 6 months for Iran deal. Tabby G. Yes. I feel bad because I can't remember his name. I just know he wasn't treated fairly and was omitted from the party debate stage. Jonathan Pedneau was his name. Very accomplished young man, particularly in the field of human rights. And yes, and found out, I think it was on the day of the debate, that his participation had been revoked all of a sudden. So yeah, so there you have it, Kits and Cubs, looking at some analysis of opposition parties and how they are reacting to the current moment. Conservatives are not coping well at all. Denying reality, attacking the prime minister's level of education, of all the things that could have attacked him on that one. Like that one, really, just not credible. Claiming that they have a united party, despite the fact that there's so much ink being spilled about how dissatisfied people are there, and we have the proof of 4 floor crossers, and the Conservatives not being willing to ask themselves in any way, shape, or form, at least publicly, whether or not the problem is them. You have the NDP, of course, not necessarily thrilled about it, but using it as an avenue to promote their traditional stance in favor of democratic reform, proportional representation, and of course, the leader trying to make his debut with a policy position on algorithmic pricing or surveillance pricing, while not getting off to the best foot, at least in media press conferences, although his personal one-on-one media availabilities in terms of news shows and current affairs shows are going well. The Bloc Québécois leader, basically business as usual for him. A little misstep on trying to explain why it is they didn't ultimately win, but nothing to hang his head down in shame. His party did very well. He acquitted himself very well. the margin of victory from the Liberals wasn't so large that it would cause people to ask any questions about the Bloc's health as a party or his leadership. He's good. And then, of course, we have Elizabeth May here stating that she does have no problem with floor crossings, but might want us to look at something that when we are choosing nominees for elections, that we choose candidates who do commit to stay for the full 4 years, so that we don't have to have by-elections within a year immediately, unless somebody has to resign for either health or death. That, I guess if you die, you don't take the time to resign first. It just kind of happens, or scandal, you get ejected. But for any other reason, wanting to go explore greener pastures or take on a job somewhere else, a diplomatic position, or the head of a commission, or create a high-level position within a multilateral organization, all of those things, no, probably not. You should probably stay. Making a decent point there, and also making a point about that whatever the situation is going to be, she is going to navigate it and work well and do her best. But since we are changing the rules about recognizing parties for funding, maybe we can change the rules to recognize the parties for having the rights to represent your constituents who sent you there. And those constituents, when they say it's MP's rights, it's not so much the MP's rights, it's the rights of the constituents who set the MP there to have an MP that can use every tool that's available to every other MP to represent them, so that they can be represented as well as just as well as any other Canadian. And that's why I think that she has a very valid point there, because a lot of people look at it as MP's rights. But if we change the frame on that, it's not the right of the MP. It's the right of those who sent that MP to have an MP that has the same ability, equal ability as everybody else to do their full job of representing them, so that the representation is equal. That would be my take on it. All right. Kids and cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us, because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. We really appreciate it when you do, especially when you share some of our content and say why it is it resonates with you. That is advertising we cannot buy. And thank you, everyone, for pushing us over the 30,000 mark on our YouTube page. I've seen we've grown a little bit since then, too. And I am very, very grateful for your support and all you do to help promote us. If there's anything else, kids and cubs, that you can do for us, well, one of those things would be, if you are not on our YouTube page, to scan this QR code right here. And that will bring you to our YouTube page, where you can go and click on our buttons like, share, and subscribe. Please give them a little smash. Actually, the subscribe, but all of them, be generous with your attention. And if you are already on our YouTube page and you haven't clicked on like, share, subscribe yet, please do. It really helps us with the algorithm and helps people find us. If you'd like to support us in other ways, say financially, because you believe our show has value and it deserves to be supported, because we do incur some costs to bring it to you, we would appreciate you scanning that QR code, which will bring you to our coffee page. That's ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver. And we call that our emergency hydration fund. And there you can leave a little bit of a donation in toonies and loonies and other denominations if you like. We're not picky. Which we put to good use in terms of coffee for Mr. Grizzly and hot chocolate for me right here in this cup, which is now empty. I'm out of Beaver Moisture, except for like 1 or 2 little drops that I saved so I can do the end of my outro. We desperately need your help, because the hot coffee and hot chocolate, well, that's our staff, and they help us get everything done, and our staff keeps disappearing on us. I don't know where they go. They just vanish. So please help us hire more staff. God. We must be the only organization in the world that literally consumes their staff. Oh my word. So please, your donations are very much appreciated. We thank you for anything that you're able to give. When you donate through our coffee program here, we get 95 to 97% of your donation. If you donate through YouTube, either through super chat donations or memberships, we get about 70%. And if you are doing the Buy Canadian thing, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com is our email address. Please write to us there, and you can send us a direct bank transfer from your Canadian institution to ours. The transaction is entirely Canadian. No USC Tech Bros get a share of your money and then donate it back to Donald Trump so he can do terrible things to us. And well, we get 100% of your donation. So that's a win-win-win. So thank you so much for everybody who donates whatever way you can. We appreciate it. And if you are not able to donate financially, there's other donations that you can make. For example, in Word by using our email address, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com, and telling us what you think about our show, good, bad, or ugly, or making some recommendations for some guests so that we can have some chats and conversations that would be interesting. Or if you have any questions about the show, about how we make the show, or any questions about politics, you want our views on stuff, or some subjects you want us to tackle, let us know at truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com. Now, if you want to reach us on our socials, at trueeager, at the Blue Sky Beaver Lodge, also on the Jitter, True North Eager Beaver on our Facebook page, our original home. We have the Damn Fam Discord. Thank you, Damn Fam, to keep the conversation going when there is no show on. We also have the Instagram run by Kit Uncover. And Kit Uncover, I did see your message about the shorts. I'm sorry I have not had a chance to act on them as much as I would like to over the past little bit, but I am now about back to regular schedule, and I should be able to get back on that. And I do appreciate the work and the effort. So thank you very much for all you do for us. And I am sorry that I've not been able to give it the love that it requires. And that it deserves, I should say, more than it requires, that it deserves, because you do a lot for us, and I am very grateful. Let's see. What else do we have here? So yeah, I think that's all the ways you can get in contact with us. Also, right here, down here on our YouTube page, the comment section, leave us a little something. We read everything that you write, even though we are not able to necessarily answer everyone. So we thank you for your contributions. And also remember our hashtags, Kids Who Cook, Kids Who Craft, and Kids Who Cultivate for our socials. So if you have any yummy things that you're making, if you have any beautiful things that you are creating, or if you have anything fantastic that you are growing, please let us know what it is. And we would like to have that information. And also, Kids and Cubs, any of your good news, because sometimes the doom scrolling gets a lot, and it's good to share in your joy. And we thank you for that, just like you share in mine when I have something joyous. I'm always grateful that you are happy for me when things go well, and I would like to be happy for you when things go well as well. Thank you. All right. What else do we have here? Because democracy is something that you do remember in May. If you're in British Columbia, there is voting for the leadership of the BC Conservative Party. And of course, as we mentioned yesterday, there are still some time to register. I think there's maybe about 3 more days to register as a BC Conservative in order to have your say on who should be a member of that, who should be the leader of that party. So do that. That's where the real action is. If you want to make sure that you have good quality candidates when it comes time for the general election, then definitely do that. The leadership vote is scheduled for May 30th, 2026, with ballots sent to members beginning on May 9th, and membership signups will close on the 18th. So yeah, you only have a few more days to register. Even if you're not typically a BC Conservative voter, if you're watching the show, please get a membership and make sure that you vote for the candidate that literally is the best, so that when it comes time to the general, no matter who good British Columbians vote for, it will be a good person, a candidate that will best represent the province and constituents well. So there you go. All right. And of course, the Alto Public Train consultation up until the 24th, Alto Train, altotrain.ca/en/public-consultation to let know what you think over there. And I believe that's all I got for you today on democracy, something that you do. For some reason, I feel like I'm missing something, but I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. So I am just going to move on. Words of wisdom, kits and cubs. Again, as we saw with this show, take the time to look at your elected officials in various contexts. Don't just look at the 11 o'clock p.m. newscast or the 6 p.m. newscast or whatever it is. CPAC is an incredible resource on YouTube. Go there, watch some press conferences, watch when they make announcements, watch a few scrums. You often get much more detail and you get a better sense of who the politicians that you may be voting for are and what it is that they do with your time and your dime. When you watch those, than when you watch necessarily campaign events itself, which are automatically glossy and designed for them to look good, or high-profile media events. Sometimes it's those little moments in the scrubs or whatnot, or those little media availabilities where you see the true colors actually come out, and you know who you're dealing with, and how not only how well do they treat the help, but how well they actually do master their files, and whether or not they are people that act on a regular basis in ways that respect your intelligence and your vote, or do not. So that would be my words of wisdom. Go to the things that not necessarily everybody looks at, and just take a peek there now and then to see how things are going. It could be a tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourself. And now, kits and cubs, at the count of 3, may I please ask for a little audience participation by saying, Mr. Beaver, please cue the cock on 1, 2, 3. I hear it. I hear it. And here's a little cock-a-doodle-doo just for you. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community. And the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. There you are. You kind of disappeared on me for a second. A little bit of news about Canadians who make us proud, and this one I'm really happy to announce. I'm just seeing on the top of my screen here, breaking news. Trump says Israel and Lebanon agree to temporary ceasefire. Oh, okay. This is from Agence France Presse. Just take a little look at that before we go to the Canadians who make us proud, given that this is breaking here. Israel and Lebanon have agreed to a 10-day ceasefire. U.S. President Donald Trump announced Thursday, 2 days after the countries held their first direct diplomatic talks in decades in Washington. The truce that Trump said was scheduled to begin at 5 p.m. Eastern follows more than a month of war between Israel and the Iran-backed Hezbollah militant group in Lebanon. Lebanon has insisted on a ceasefire to stop the fighting between Israel and Hezbollah before engaging in more talks, while vowing to commit to disarming the group. Okay. So a positive development-ish, and I heard somewhere else that it looks like there will be more talks as well between U.S. and Iran. It says that there's some progress, that the United States and Iran have an in-principle agreement to extend the ceasefire to allow for more diplomacy, which would be good. So I'll have more for this on you tomorrow. More for this for you tomorrow, probably. But just wanted to make sure that I read that, because it was breaking. Now, about Canadians who make us proud, and this one I'm very happy to report. I'm a big fan of our tennis players, and we have, our premier tennis player, female tennis player in doubles is Gabriela Dabrowski. She has been as high as number 2 in the world. I think she might be number 2 in the world now. Multiple Grand Slam champion in women's doubles and also in mixed doubles. Olympic bronze medalist with Félix Auger-Aliassime. And according to tennisuptodate.com, as Christian Avila, she is doing some community work now. Gabriela Dabrowski has aligned her 2026 WTA doubles season with an initiative addressing violence against women, linking on-court performance directly to financial contributions. Competing alongside Luisa Stefani, the Canadian is donating $20 for every game won to the 1 in 3 fund. The initiative has already generated more than $7,700 supported by a WTA 1000 title in Dubai and semifinal runs at the Australian Open and Miami Open. The campaign is rooted in a widely cited global statistic. 1 in 3 represents the statistic of women and girls above the age of 15 who have faced physical or sexual violence, Dabrowski said. To me, that statistics, when I heard it, was so very staggering because that's what we know that's reported. So quite frankly, it's probably higher. You probably know someone who has faced violence in some way. Her early season results have provided the foundation for scaling the initiative. Dabrowski and Stefani secured the Dubai WTA title in February, marking her 6th at that level, and followed with semi-final finishes at both the Australian Open and Miami. Those runs ensured a consistent accumulation of games won, directly increasing the campaign's financial output. The initiative also connects to the creation of the 1 in 3 fund following the 2024 killing of Ugandan athlete Rebecca Cheptegei. I don't want her death to be in vain, Dabrowski said. I want something really positive to come out of not just my campaign, but the 1 in 3 movement in general. Dabrowski's approach creates a direct correlation between match results and funding. With a target of 600 games won, the projected contribution reaches $12,000. Early season events, including a Grand Slam and 2 WTA 1000 tournaments, have already provided a strong base through deep runs. Here, let's see, what else do we have? And it appears here that the way that it's set up, matches that are tight will contribute at additional increments. There you go. Let's see. What else does it say here? Because Dabrowski has been recovering from a cancer diagnosis. It says here that her schedule has required minor adjustments. But it says here, according to shoulder, elbow, knee, and foot issues, leading to her withdrawal from the Billie Jean King Cup in Thai in Kazakhstan, stating, quote, "I just can't do it right now. I need to pay more attention to my body." That was really disappointing because I wanted to be there and help the team. But after she also had a breast cancer diagnosis in 2024, detected after a scan during the Miami Open. And she says, "I do scans every 6 months, mammogram and then MRI, and those have been clear so far, fortunately," she said. "I'm very grateful for all of that." Continuing on here with what it is that she is doing, there is a moment here, media moment, that I'm going to present to you where she's talking about it a little, and then that's all I will have for you today before I am off. But let's see, there it is. There we go. And let's put this full screen.
So this season, I understand you're pledging $20 for each win that you have,
Yes.
and the money's going to the 1 in 3 fund. Can you just talk a little bit about that fund and why you decided to do this?
Yes, so the 1 in 3 fund was born from the tragic death of Rebecca Cheptegei. That moment in itself was beyond horrific, but 1 in 3 represents the statistic of women and girls above the age of 15 who have faced physical or sexual violence. And to me, that statistic, when I heard it, was very staggering because that's what we know that's reported. So quite frankly, it's probably higher. You probably know someone who has faced violence in some way. I just thought, I can't really look away from this. So, I don't want her death to be in vain, and I want something really positive to come out of not just my campaign, but the 1 in 3 movement in general, and also encouraging more athletes to get involved and make a difference in areas that they feel passionate about. For me, right now, it's 1 in 3 because it's a statistic that I can't look away from, and I want to make changes. But yes, so, everything is done in her memory, but also we're looking forward and we're trying to see, where we can make the most impact and what charities involved can help with that prevention. Right now we have 7 of them, which is amazing.
So there you go. Just again, accomplished Canadian, doing wonderful things and using her celebrity and her clout to do something a little more. For those who are wondering who Rebecca Cheptegei is, she is a long-distance runner, or was, I should say, a long-distance runner from Uganda. National record holder in the marathon. She represented Uganda at several world championships since 2010. And her life was ended by her former boyfriend 4 days after, and I am sorry to have to report this because it is extremely violent. So I'm giving a trigger warning for domestic violence and intimate partner violence. But he had doused her in petrol and set her on fire. It's a moment that shocked the world, so it's no surprise that some people would be horrified by the sheer brutal nature of things that are going on. And, we're talking about, an athlete here, but as Gabriela Dabrowski noted, right, these are the cases that we know of. There's a lot more that we don't. So glad to highlight a Canadian who's doing good stuff here to help. So if you're ever watching tennis, please cheer for Gabriela Dabrowski to win as many games as possible, and for some of the matches to go as long as possible. So that there are more games played that Dabrowski can win, so that she can raise more money, but not too much that she's too tired to win the Grand Slams. There you go. That's my wish. All right, kids and cubs. Long extra there, but thought it was very important to highlight this particular initiative. And with that, I say amour et bisous, and we will see you tomorrow. Hopefully, with no power outages. All right.